The dress code arrived 12 days before my daughter's wedding, while I was standing at my kitchen counter trying to remove price stickers from 48 glass candle holders. Claire's email said, "Final version, Mom. Read all the way through. Love you." The attachment was 3 pages of pale green watercolor leaves and rules precise enough to govern a small country. Floor-length dresses were encouraged. No bright white, cream, champagne, blush, or colors that may photograph as bridal. Men were reminded that garden formal did not mean khakis. Guests wearing narrow heels were advised that the ceremony lawn was beautiful but unforgiving. At the bottom, below a thin gold line, there was one last instruction. "Mom, please do not attend." I read it twice. Then I enlarged the page until the letters filled my laptop screen. Behind me, a candle holder rolled off the counter, landed on the rug, and continued under the dining table without breaking. I watched it go as if it knew where it was headed. My phone rang before I could call Claire. "Hi," she said. Not hello. "Hi," in the voice she used when she'd already cried and wanted credit for stopping. I looked again at the screen. Was this meant for me? She didn't answer right away. That was how I learned it wasn't a mistake. "Mom, can you please sit down? I'm holding a scraper." "What, a little plastic scraper?" "For the stickers." I set it beside the sink. "There. Now I'm not armed. This isn't funny. I'm aware." She breathed out, shaky and offended, as if I had made the moment difficult by noticing it. I pulled a chair from the table and sat among wedding supplies. The room had been taken over for months. Spools of moss-colored ribbon stood where the salt and pepper usually went. A box marked, "Ceremony Do Not Crush," blocked the cabinet with my good plates. 6 linen napkins hung over the backs of chairs because Claire had wanted to compare sage with eucalyptus in natural morning light. The difference, as far as I could tell, was that one was green and the other was also green. "Is Evan there?" I asked. "No." "Does he know you sent this?" Another pause. "Claire." "Yes, he knows." I waited for her to explain. She waited for me to make it easier. We were both good at our roles, but only one of us was tired of hers. Finally, she said, "Dad is worried about the wedding. Your father worries when a room contains history. He's trying. I didn't say he wasn't. He feels like the engagement dinner proved this is going to become a thing." The engagement dinner. 3 weeks earlier, Richard had lifted a glass of very expensive red wine and told Evan's parents that Claire had become independent because he had always known when to step back. It was a graceful phrase. It made 14 missed birthdays sound like a parenting philosophy. I had been quiet through his story about moving across the country for a season, though the season lasted nearly 11 years. I stayed quiet when he said he and I had agreed that Claire needed stability, as if he had contributed to that stability by mailing Christmas cards in January. Then he said, "Sometimes love means knowing your presence would only complicate things." I'd put down my fork and said, "You missed 14 birthdays, Richard. Let's not call that parenting." The silence afterward had been so complete, I could hear someone at the next table ask for more butter. "I apologized for saying it at dinner," I reminded Claire. "You apologized for the timing." "The timing was what I regretted, and that's exactly what I mean. You always have to leave a little knife in it." I looked around my dining room at the ribbons, napkins, printed place cards, and small glass candle holders I'd been scraping for 2 hours because Claire said stickers looked cheap when they showed through candlelight. "What are you asking me to do?" I said, although the answer was still glowing on my laptop. "Dad hasn't said he won't come. That's encouraging. But he's afraid you'll confront him again, and if he's tense all day, I'll be tense. Evan will be watching me. His mother will notice. Everybody will notice. So you've decided I'm the removable part. That is not what I said. You typed it." She made a sound like I'd slapped the phone out of her hand. "I knew you'd do this. Read me the last line, Claire. Please don't. Read it." "I know what it says. So do I." For a few seconds, all I could hear was traffic on her end and the soft click of her turn signal. She was in her car. Claire had always preferred difficult conversations while driving. Movement made her feel less trapped, even when everyone else had nowhere to go. "I just want one uncomplicated day with my father," she said. "And I complicate it by remembering him accurately? You make him feel judged. He is judged. We all are. That's what happens when other people have memories. Mom." I closed my eyes. There it was, that single word stretched to carry warning, frustration, and the assumption that I would eventually surrender. She had used the same tone over centerpieces, hotel rooms, and whether divorced parents could be seated at separate tables without creating a visual fracture. "What did Richard ask for?" I said. "He didn't ask for anything directly." I opened my eyes. "Then why am I not coming? He said he didn't know if he could handle another scene." "There was no scene." I said one sentence. "He left before dessert and sent you 6 paragraphs from the parking lot. You're minimizing it." "No, I'm describing it. I know him. If he thinks you're going to corner him or contradict him in front of Evan's family, he may not show up at all. And if he doesn't?" Her voice dropped. "Then I don't get my father at my wedding." I ran my thumb over a nick in the tabletop. Claire had made it the previous Thanksgiving while forcing a centerpiece into a vase it didn't fit. She'd looked at the scratch, looked at me, and said, "We can fix that later." We never had. "You have me," I said. "I know." She said it too quickly. Something cold moved through me, not shock exactly, more like recognition arriving late. "I need one parent who loves me enough not to make me choose," she said. I leaned back in the chair. The box behind me crackled under my shoulder. "You already chose," I told her. "You're asking me to make it look as if you didn't. That's not fair. No, Claire, it isn't." She began crying then, openly this time. My body reacted before my mind did. I sat forward. I nearly said, "Honey, pull over." I nearly asked whether she was safe, whether she had eaten, whether she wanted me to come to her apartment and make the tea she liked but never kept in her own kitchen. I pressed my palm flat against the table until the impulse passed. "This is one day," she said. "One day out of our entire lives. It's your wedding day. That's why I need you to understand. What would understanding look like? We could do something private when we get back. You and me and Evan. I'll wear the dress again if you want. We could have dinner somewhere beautiful and take pictures." I pictured Claire putting on her wedding gown in a restaurant bathroom so I could receive a smaller, quieter imitation of the day she had decided I spoiled by existing. "No," I said. "Why not?" "Because I don't want a substitute wedding. It wouldn't be a substitute. What would you call it?" She didn't answer. I looked at the candle holders. 48 of them, Claire had ordered, despite there being only 40 tables. The extra 8 were for breakage, asymmetry, and what she called visual insurance. I had picked them up because shipping to her apartment was unreliable. I'd spent the week peeling stickers, trimming wicks, and fitting battery candles into frosted sleeves. "Mom, the florist still needs the final table count by Friday," she said, as if she had heard my thoughts and followed them toward the nearest task. "And the welcome bags need to be dropped at the hotel. You have the list." I almost laughed. It came out as a breath. "What? You've asked me not to attend your wedding, and now you're reminding me about welcome bags. I'm trying to figure out logistics. Everything doesn't stop because we're having a hard conversation." "No, it doesn't." I stood and walked to the refrigerator. The florist's number was held beneath a magnet shaped like a lobster, a souvenir from a trip Claire and I had taken after Richard canceled on her one summer. I took the paper down and folded it once. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Getting organized." Why does that sound threatening? It isn't. I'm going to put everything together, the vendor notes, the place cards, the decorations, all of it. You and Evan can pick it up tomorrow. Tomorrow? Why? Because I'm no longer working on the wedding. Her crying stopped so abruptly I heard her inhale. "You can't be serious. I'm not canceling anything. I'm not changing anything. I'll give you every number, receipt, and note I have. The place cards aren't finished. I know. The candle holders are nearly done. You can finish them. I don't have time. Then leave the stickers on. Mom, this is exactly the kind of retaliation I was afraid of. I turned toward the crowded room. There were 4 months of my time stacked in boxes against the wall. Retaliation would be calling the florist and changing your flowers to orange carnations. This is me no longer helping with an event I'm forbidden to attend. You're my mother. Yes. That doesn't stop because you're angry. No. But the free labor does. She went quiet again. This silence was different. She was recalculating. When did you become like this? She asked. The question was so genuinely bewildered that it hurt more than the line on the card. I don't know, I said. Maybe around 3 minutes ago. A car horn sounded near her. Claire muttered something and then said, I have to go. I can't drive like this. Pull over. I said I have to go. Claire. What? I wanted to tell her not to do it. Not the driving, the choice. I wanted to hand her one last opportunity to take the sentence back before it hardened into part of our history. But offering her the words would only let her borrow my courage and call it her decision. Your boxes will be ready tomorrow at 6, I said. She hung up. I stood alone in the dining room with my phone against my ear. After a while, I crawled beneath the table and retrieved the candle holder that had rolled away. It had stopped beside the blue shoebox containing the heels I'd bought for the wedding. The store had promised they were designed for mature women who wanted elegance without sacrificing stability, which sounded less like advertising than a warning. I sat on the rug and lifted the lid. The shoes were still wrapped in tissue paper. The blue dress hung upstairs in my bedroom, altered and pressed. Claire had chosen it with me. She had stood outside the fitting room, smiling when I stepped out and said, That's it. That's the mother of the bride dress. I picked up one shoe, turned it over, and saw the price sticker still fixed to the sole. For one ridiculous second, I reached for the plastic scraper. I carried the shoe into the kitchen, found the scraper, and removed the sticker from the sole. Then I put the shoe back in the box. It was a ridiculous task, but it was mine. And finishing it gave my hands somewhere to be while the rest of me tried to catch up. I packed until nearly midnight, not dramatically. I didn't throw ribbon into boxes or crush Claire's carefully folded tissue paper. I finished labeling the candle holders because leaving 8 of them unlabeled, while 40 were labeled, would have bothered me long after it inconvenienced her. I put the florist's information in a folder with the hotel contact, the final guest count, and the handwritten list of people who required meals without dairy, gluten, nuts, alcohol, red meat, or joy. At the bottom of the list, next to Aunt Darlene's name, Claire had written, "No shellfish, but she will claim she can eat shrimp." I left it there. Around 11, I found an envelope containing $300 in cash. Claire had given it to me for vendor tips, then forgotten about it. For a moment, I stared at the bills in my hand and wondered whether she would remember them only after deciding I had stolen them. I wrote cash for tips, $300 across the envelope in black marker, signed my name underneath, and took a picture of it on my phone. That was when I knew something had changed. I had never documented my honesty with my daughter before. Joanne called at 7 the next morning. "You sound terrible," she said when I answered. I said, "Hello?" Exactly. Usually you say, "Good morning, Joe," like you're answering the phone at a dental office. I do not. You absolutely do. Once you asked me how you could direct my call. I tucked the phone between my shoulder and ear and poured coffee. You were calling during a meeting. I was calling to warn you that your ex-husband was about to walk into that meeting with spinach in his teeth. You failed to appreciate my public service. Joanne had known Richard longer than I had, though she liked to point out that she had never married him, and therefore won. She and I met in our 20s while working in adjacent offices when she wore enormous earrings and kept a bottle of hot sauce in her desk. At 64, she still wore enormous earrings and now carried hot sauce in her purse. I stood at the kitchen window watching a squirrel hang upside down from the bird feeder. "Claire asked me not to come to the wedding," I said. Joanne was silent. The squirrel pulled a sunflower seed through the wire and ate it with both hands. "Did you say Claire?" Joanne asked. "Yes." "You're Claire? I don't have a spare. What happened?" "She wants Richard there, and apparently my face could frighten him back into the wilderness." "Helen." She put it on the dress code card. "What do you mean?" She put it on the card. At the bottom. "Mom, please do not attend." Joanne said nothing for so long that I checked the phone. "Are you there? I'm deciding whether I need bail money." "No bail money. I have some. Not enough for both of us, so I need to know your plans." "My plans are to drink coffee and give Claire her wedding boxes at 6. "All of them?" "Yes." "Good." Her immediate approval annoyed me. "You could pretend to consider it." "I considered it while you were talking. You've only heard my side. I've known you for 38 years. Your side is usually too generous to the other person. That isn't a compliment. It wasn't meant as one." I carried my coffee into the dining room. Without the boxes, the room looked larger and strangely unfinished. Pale rectangles of dust marked where they had been stacked against the wall. One candle holder remained on the table, the one that had rolled away. I'd somehow missed it during packing. "Claire thinks I'm retaliating," I said. "Are you? I'm returning everything in better condition than she gave it to me." "That's the most Helen-shaped retaliation imaginable. She said I was still her mother." "You are. So what does that require?" Joanne's voice softened. "Not this." I picked at a dried piece of adhesive on the candle holder. She was crying in the car. Of course she was. That sounds harsh. She can be hurt and still be the person causing the hurt. Those two things have been roommates since the beginning of time. I let that sit between us. Joanne asked, "Does Sam know?" "No, unless Claire called him." "Does Richard?" "I don't know." "Does Evan's family?" "No." "Does Evan?" "Yes." "And what did Prince Garden Formal have to say?" I smiled despite myself. I didn't ask. "You should. It's Claire's decision. Men have been hiding inside that sentence for centuries." "Joe." "What?" "I didn't say he made her do it. I'm saying he knows. That earns him a chair at the table. He won't be sitting. The chairs are packed." She sighed. "I'm coming over." "No, you're not." "I'll bring muffins." "I don't need supervision. I'm not supervising. I'm witnessing. It's different. I don't want an audience when she comes." "Fine. I'll leave at 5:45. 5:30. 5:40. "Joanne." 5:30. But I'm taking whatever baked goods remain." She arrived at 10 with 12 muffins, 3 grocery bags, and no explanation for why a person visiting for breakfast needed groceries. She also brought a roll of packing tape, even though I had packed everything. "This is industrial," she said, setting it on the counter. "It communicates finality. It communicates that you shop at warehouse stores." She looked through the dining room, opened 2 boxes to examine my labels, and shook her head. "You made an inventory? It seemed useful. You included quantities. What if something goes missing? What do you think they're going to do, call the candle police?" I took the inventory from her and put it back in the folder. "I want everything clear." Joanne's expression changed. She didn't make another joke. At 5:30, she hugged me near the front door. Joanne was not a casual hugger. Her embraces usually arrived after deaths, medical tests, and election results. She squeezed me hard enough that one of her earrings pressed into my cheek. "If she takes it back, you can take it back too," she said. "I know, and if she doesn't, you can still fall apart after she leaves." "I know. You don't have to perform dignity for me." "I'm not performing. You alphabetize the vendor folder. That's how folders work." She kissed my cheek, picked up the remaining muffins, and left. Claire and Evan arrived at 6:12. Through the front window, I watched their car stay parked at the curb for several minutes. They were talking, though I couldn't see their faces clearly. Finally, Claire got out from the passenger side. Evan came around to meet her at the sidewalk, but when he reached for her hand, she used both of hers to adjust the strap of her purse. I opened the door before they could knock. Claire's eyes went directly to the boxes lined up in the entryway. "You really packed it all. You asked Evan to bring the larger car." Her gaze snapped to mine. "Because you said everything would be ready." Then we all understood. Evan stepped forward. Hi, Helen. Hello, Evan. He leaned toward me as if to hug me, reconsidered, and put one hand in his pocket. He was a kind man in many ordinary ways. He remembered how people took their coffee. He always carried extra batteries. When my porch railing came loose, he fixed it without turning the repair into a referendum on my ability to live alone. Standing in my entryway, he looked like a decent man who had agreed to an indecent thing and hoped posture might distinguish the two. Where should I start? He asked. The candle holders are heaviest. He lifted the first box. Got it. Claire waited until he was outside before speaking. You could still come. Hope rose so fast it embarrassed me. Then she added, to the hotel. Before the ceremony. You could help me get ready and leave before Dad arrives. The hope disappeared, but its absence left a clean edge. You want me to dress you for a wedding I'm not allowed to witness. I'm trying to find a way to include you. No. You're trying to find another room to hide me in. Her mouth tightened. You make everything sound ugly. I'm not the one who designed it. Evan came back through the door and stopped when he saw our faces. Claire picked up a small box marked table numbers. We should go. There's an inventory in the green folder, I said. The tip money is in an envelope inside. I knew about the money. I assumed you did. That landed exactly as badly as I knew it would. I wished I hadn't said it. Claire set the box down too hard. Glass clicked inside. Do you think I would accuse you of taking it? I don't know what you might decide is true if it makes this easier. Helen, Evan said quietly. It was the first time he had used my name as a warning. I looked at him. Did you ask me not to attend? No. Did you tell Claire she shouldn't ask? His eyes moved toward her. That's between us, Claire said. No, I said. It's standing in my house. Evan rubbed the back of his neck. I told her I would support whatever she needed to feel calm that day. What a useful sentence. His face flushed. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? He had no answer ready. Claire did. You've made your point. I haven't made any point. I asked a question. You're cross-examining my fiancé. You're right. I'm sorry, Evan. The apology startled all three of us. I meant it. He had chosen his part, but Claire had written the line. Turning him into the villain would have been another way of pretending her choice belonged to someone else. Evan nodded once. Thank you. We carried boxes in silence after that. I took the small ones. Claire objected when I lifted the crate of welcome bags, so I handed it to her without argument. She nearly dropped it because she hadn't expected the weight. On the last trip, Evan found the stray candle holder on the dining table. Does this go too? He asked. I looked at it. One price sticker remained on the bottom. Yes. He turned it in his hand. Do you have the scraper? On the kitchen counter. Claire stared at me while he went to get it. You don't have to do this, she said. There were a dozen possible meanings, and for 1 second, I thought she might finally choose the right one. Then she looked toward the boxes in the car. I can finish packing, she said. But I don't understand why you have to make it so final. I opened the front door for them. It isn't final, I said. The wedding is in 11 days. She flinched. Evan placed the cleaned candle holder in the box and carried it outside. Claire followed him, but stopped on the porch. Dad was right, she said without turning around. You don't know when to let something go. I watched her walk to the car. After they drove away, my phone buzzed on the entry table. It was a message from Sam. Claire says you're refusing to come to the wedding. What the hell happened? I read Sam's message 3 times, not because it was difficult to understand, but because I could hear Claire's version inside it. Refusing to come, not asked to stay away, not removed. Refusing, as if I had stood in the doorway with my arms crossed and announced that the wedding no longer met my standards. I typed, "Call me when you're alone." The phone rang immediately. What happened? Sam asked. Hello to you too. Mom. He sounded exactly like Claire when he said it, which was unfair to both of them. Where are you? In my truck. Are you driving? No, I'm sitting outside my apartment. Why? Your sister likes to conduct emotional negotiations in traffic. I'm checking for patterns. This isn't funny, so I've been told. He exhaled into the phone. Sam's anger had always arrived before his information. It was useful when a pipe burst or someone needed defending in a parking lot. Less useful when two people he loved disagreed. Claire says you got mad about Dad being at the wedding and pulled out, he said. That isn't what happened. She said you don't feel comfortable attending if he's there. I sat at a table with him 3 weeks ago and insulted him. I corrected him. Same thing according to Dad, I'm sure. Can you just tell me what happened without making me drag every sentence out of you? I walked back into the dining room. It echoed slightly now. Claire sent me the final dress code yesterday. At the bottom, she wrote, "Mom, please do not attend." There was no sound from Sam's end. Sam? She wrote that? Yes. On the invitation? The dress code card? Like under the part about ties and shoes? Under the part about the lawn being unforgiving? That's insane. It was certainly well formatted. Send it to me. I hesitated. Why? Because I want to see it. I've told you what it says. And Claire told me something completely different. I looked toward my laptop still open on the kitchen counter. The document had remained on the screen all day. I hadn't closed it because some irrational part of me feared the sentence might disappear and leave me wondering if I'd exaggerated it. I don't want you in the middle, I said. I'm already in the wedding party. I'm wearing a rented suit in a color called stone. I'm in the middle. Stone is gray. I know that, you know that. The wedding industry is still investigating. Despite everything? I smiled. Send it, he said again. I forwarded the email without adding a message. A moment later, he swore so loudly I moved the phone away from my ear. Did she seriously put an exclamation point after "read all the way through"? I hadn't focused on the punctuation. She sent you "love you" and then told you not to come. I noticed that part. I'm calling her. No, Mom, she lied to me. She told you the version she can live with. That is a very elegant definition of lying. Calling her while you're angry won't help. I'm not trying to help, I know. That's why you should wait. He was quiet for a moment. I heard a car door slam somewhere near him. I'm not going, he said. My hand tightened around the phone. Don't decide that tonight. There's nothing to decide. There is. She's your sister. You're our mother. It isn't a competition. She turned it into one, and I am asking you not to turn it into a larger one. He groaned. Why do you always do this? Do what? Protect the person who hurt you. You did it with Dad. Now you're doing it with Claire. I'm not protecting her. I gave her 8 boxes and $300 in an envelope labeled like courtroom evidence. I mean, from consequences. I am a consequence. That doesn't even make sense. It makes perfect sense to me. He went quiet again. Sam had been 22 when Richard started calling him regularly. By then, Sam had learned to treat his father like weather, pleasant when favorable, not personally betrayed by rain. Claire never managed that distance. Every phone call from Richard still held the possibility of becoming all the calls she had missed. Sam understood this and resented her for it in equal measure. You want me to stand next to Dad in pictures while your seat is empty? He asked. I want you to decide what you can live with after you're calm. And what are you going to do that day? I don't know yet. Sit here alone? No. The answer came quickly enough to surprise me. I won't do that. Go somewhere with Joanne? Maybe. Far away. I'm not entering witness protection. I'm serious. So am I. I won't sit here watching the clock. His voice softened. You already bought the dress. Yes. Can you return it? No, it was altered. Of course it was. It has a complicated zipper. Alterations were necessary. Mom, I'm fine. Don't do the dental office voice. I sat in one of the empty dining chairs. I am not fine. Okay. But I will be. Okay. It was one of the things I loved about Sam. Once truth arrived, he didn't decorate it. He came over the next evening carrying 2 paper bags of takeout and wearing work boots that left pale dust on the entry rug. He stared at the empty dining room, then set the food on the table. It looks like you're moving. I moved 8 boxes. You had enough wedding stuff in here to qualify as a branch location. We ate noodles directly from cardboard containers. Sam had brought enough food for 5 people because ordering reasonable portions made him nervous. He picked at his meal for several minutes before pushing his phone across the table. Claire's message was open. I wish you'd asked me before accusing me. Mom said she couldn't support a wedding where Dad was being treated like an embarrassment. I asked if she would be willing to stay home if she couldn't be civil. She chose not to come. I'm devastated, but I can't spend the next 11 days begging her to act like my mother. I read it twice and slid the phone back. Well? He asked. She's upset. That's your response? She is. She lied. She moved events around until she could bear looking at them. That's still lying. Yes. He studied me. You sound like you're making excuses. I'm trying to understand what she believes. Why? Because she's my daughter. And if I did this, I'd try to understand you. You'd skin me alive, only after I understood you. That got half a laugh from him, but it vanished quickly. She wants me at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow, he said. I looked up. Tomorrow? They moved the wedding party dinner earlier because Evan's brother has to travel next week. She told me a month ago. I forgot. No, you didn't know. She said she was keeping the dinner small. I reached for my water. Claire and I had discussed rehearsal flowers, meal choices, and whether Richard would need a hotel room. Somehow, she had never mentioned that the dinner was happening 11 days before the ceremony. What? Sam said. Nothing. You do a thing with your mouth. I have no idea what that means. It means there's another thing. It isn't important. He leaned back. This is what makes everyone crazy. You hide every cut until you're bleeding through your clothes, then act surprised when we notice. I didn't know about the dinner, now I do. Were you supposed to go? Apparently not. He picked up his phone. I'm calling her. I put my hand over it. Stop protecting her, he said. Stop using me as permission to do what you already want to do. His face hardened. What's that supposed to mean? You've been angry with Claire for years because she keeps chasing Dad. This isn't only about me. At least I know who he is. Yes, you do. She doesn't. Not all the way. She's 35. Age doesn't always cure hope. No. Sometimes it turns hope into a personality disorder. Sam, I'm sorry. He wasn't, but he looked ashamed enough to let it go. His phone buzzed beneath my hand. Claire's name appeared on the screen. We stared at it until the call stopped. Then mine rang. Richard. Sam laughed once without humor. Family hour? I took my hand off his phone. You don't have to stay. I'm absolutely staying. No. Why not? Because I don't want to speak to your father with you making faces across the table. I'll make them quietly. I carried my phone into the kitchen and answered. Helen, Richard said, warmly, as if he had called to recommend a restaurant. How are you? Did Claire tell you? She's very upset. That wasn't my question. He sighed. Richard's sighs had always suggested that a reasonable conversation was available somewhere nearby if only I would stop blocking the entrance. Yes, she told me there's been a disagreement. She asked me not to attend the wedding. She said you decided stepping back would be best. No, she decided that. Is the distinction really important right now? Yes. He lowered his voice. Claire is under an enormous amount of pressure. Then perhaps you shouldn't add to it. I'm trying not to. Did you tell her you wouldn't come if I was there? No, I never said that. I leaned against the counter. Did you ask her to exclude me? Of course not. What did you say? I said I wasn't sure I could put myself in another hostile situation. The hostile situation where I disagreed with your biography? This is exactly the tone I mean. What tone? The one where every conversation becomes a trial and you're the only one allowed to remember evidence. In the dining room, Sam had gone still. He could hear Richard's voice even though the call wasn't on speaker. I don't want to fight, Richard continued. I want our daughter to have a peaceful wedding. So do I. Then why can't you give her this? The kitchen clock ticked behind me. Give her what? 1 day without old bitterness. One day where she doesn't have to manage your feelings. I looked at the lobster magnet on the refrigerator, now holding nothing. I'm not attending, I said. You've gotten what you wanted. That isn't what I wanted. Then what are you calling for? To ask you not to punish her for making an impossible choice. I almost admired the construction. Claire had made the choice, Richard had benefited from it, and somehow I remained responsible for making it feel possible. I returned the wedding materials, I said. Nothing was damaged or canceled. She says you abandoned her 11 days before the wedding. She removed me 12 days before it. Helen, I have to go. You always hang up when the conversation gets uncomfortable. No, Richard. I used to stay long after it became pointless. That may be what's confusing you. I ended the call. Sam was standing in the kitchen doorway. You still think I should go? He asked. I set my phone face down on the counter. Yes. His expression fell, though I wasn't sure which answer he had wanted. Why? Because if you stay home only for me, someday you may resent me for what you missed, and Claire will use your absence to avoid looking at mine. That's not fair. No. Are you going to keep saying that? Probably. He rubbed both hands over his face. I hate this family. You ordered enough noodles for all of us. I plan for emergencies. His phone buzzed again. He checked the screen and shoved it into his pocket. Claire? I asked. He nodded. What did she say? She says if I don't come tomorrow, she'll know you turned me against her. I folded my arms. Sam waited, then gave a short, bitter laugh. Still want me to go? To the wedding? Decide when you're calm. And tomorrow? I looked toward the empty dining room, at the pale dust marks where Claire's boxes had been. Tomorrow, I said, tell your sister I didn't turn anyone. Then decide who you are when nobody gets to blame me. Sam looked at me for a long moment, then picked up the takeout containers and carried them to the kitchen. That sounds like something printed inside a very aggressive greeting card, he said. It was free. I still want the receipt. He packed the leftovers into my refrigerator, kissed the top of my head, and left without telling me what he had decided. 10 minutes later, I found his unopened fortune cookie beside my plate. I broke it in half. Your principles will guide you through a difficult choice. I threw it away for being smug. The next morning, I woke before 5 and listened to the heat click on and off. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Claire in the fitting room at the bridal shop, holding the skirt of her dress away from the floor while she turned. She had looked at herself in the mirror, then at me. Tell me the truth, she'd said. You look beautiful. That fast? I already knew. She had cried then, too, but those tears had trusted me. At 7, an email arrived from the wedding venue. The coordinator needed confirmation about the number of tables requiring access to electrical outlets. I forwarded it to Claire and Evan with one line. This came to me because my address is still listed as the primary contact. Claire responded within a minute. You know the answer. Can't you just reply? I did know. 2 tables needed outlets, one for Joanne's oxygen machine if she brought it, which she did not own, and another because Claire had confused an electric candle display with battery power before changing her mind twice. The final plan required no outlets at all. I typed, please change the primary contact to yourself. 3 dots appeared in the text window, vanished, then appeared again. Fine. At 9, the coordinator emailed to say she was sorry I would not be joining them and hoped I felt better soon. I read that message with my coffee halfway to my mouth. I wasn't sure which bothered me more, that Claire had told the venue I was ill or that she had done it before updating the contact information. I wrote, thank you. Please direct all future questions to Claire and Evan. It took me 5 minutes to decide not to correct the woman. She was a stranger managing table outlets. She did not need to become a witness. Joanne arrived shortly after lunch with a stack of travel brochures she claimed had been sitting in her car. Nobody has travel brochures anymore, I said. Then these are antiques. One advertised a coastal inn 2 hours away. Its cover showed two white rocking chairs facing gray-blue water under the words, "Escape the noise." "It looks damp," I said. "It's the ocean. Damp is part of the business model. I'm not spending the wedding weekend in a room decorated with wooden seagulls. The rooms have fireplaces. In June? The fireplaces are decorative. So are the seagulls." She pushed the brochure toward me. "You told Sam you wouldn't stay home. Sam repeats everything. He called me because he thinks you'll change your mind and sit in the dark. I don't sit in the dark, you absolutely do. You call it saving electricity." I opened the brochure. The inn offered rooms named after sailing terms neither of us understood, breakfast delivered in a wicker basket, and a strict no-pets policy illustrated by a photograph of a golden retriever. "Why show the dog?" I asked. "To make sure you understand what you're losing. I don't want to escape the noise." "That sounds like I'm running away." Joanne sat back. "Helen, you have spent most of your life standing still so other people can find you. Go be unavailable for 48 hours. I don't like the word escape. Fine. We'll call it strategic dampness." I laughed, and the laugh broke in the middle. Joanne looked down at her hands. Her fingernails were painted coral, except for one thumb, which was purple. "The salon ran out?" I asked. "I changed my mind during the manicure." "Of course you did. Book the room. I booked two." That evening, while Sam was at the wedding party dinner, I took the blue dress from my closet and laid it across the bed. It was not dramatic enough to be called a gown, but it had a soft, folded neckline and sleeves that made my arms look intentional. The color changed with the light, navy near the window, almost cobalt under the bedside lamp. The saleswoman had called it timeless. I had disliked the word because it usually meant expensive and safe, but Claire had touched my shoulder and said, "You'll wear it again." I put the dress back in its garment bag and moved it to the far end of the closet. At 8:30, my sister-in-law Darlene called. Darlene had divorced my brother 12 years earlier, but remained in the family through force of personality. She had once attended Christmas dinner 3 days after serving him papers because she had already made a pie. "Helen," she said, "are you sick?" "No, I didn't think so." "You sound sturdy." "Thank you, I think. I'm at this dinner and Claire said you had some health concerns." "What kind?" She did not specify. I assumed female. At my age, people usually stop assuming that. You'd be surprised. I sat on the edge of my bed. "I'm not ill." Well, I knew something was off. The venue woman asked whether anyone needed to collect a walker. A walker? It may have been a wheelchair. There's wine. "Darlene, why are you calling me from Claire's dinner?" "Because Richard is giving a speech about family, and I don't trust a man who uses the word legacy before the appetizers." Through the phone, I heard silverware and low conversation. Someone laughed too loudly. "Go back to the table," I said. "Are you coming to the wedding?" "No." "Because you're sick?" "No." "Because Richard is going?" "No." She waited. I could have said it was complicated. That was the family's favorite way of sealing a box without checking what was inside. "Claire asked me not to attend," I said. Darlene's voice sharpened. "She did what?" "She sent it with the dress code." "In writing?" "Yes." "Smart. Saves time during the lawsuit." "There is no lawsuit." "I know. I'm speaking emotionally. Please don't confront her tonight." "Why does everybody think I confront people?" "Because you're calling me from a restroom to investigate an absence." "It's not a restroom, it's a coat closet. That is worse." The door opened near her, and Darlene said, "Occupied," with such authority that whoever it was apologized. "Who knows?" she asked. "Sam, Evan, Richard, Joanne, and now me." "Yes." "What did Sam do?" "I told him to make his own choice. That boy has been making his own choices since he cut the sleeves off his graduation shirt. He said they were too tight. They were tailored. Please don't turn this into a family event. The wedding is already a family event. You know what I mean?" Darlene's voice softened. "Yes, I do." In the background, someone called her name. "I have to go pretend I was looking for my wrap," she said. "You didn't bring a wrap. They don't know that." She hung up. At 9:15, Claire texted, Did you tell Aunt Darlene I banned you from the wedding? I set the phone down. It buzzed again. She cornered me at dinner and demanded to know why I'm humiliating you. I waited. Then, I can't believe you're involving everyone after I asked you not to create drama. I typed, she asked if I was sick. I told her I wasn't. She asked why I'm not attending. I answered. Claire called before I could set the phone down. You could have told her it was private, she said. It stopped being private when you gave people explanations about my health. I said you weren't feeling well. The venue was preparing a walker. What? Possibly a wheelchair. Darlene had wine. Oh my God. Claire's voice dropped. This is why she can't be told anything. She wasn't told anything. She noticed. You knew what would happen. I answered 2 questions. You wanted her to get angry at me. I asked her not to confront you. Well, she did. In front of Evan's mother. What did she say? That's not the point. What did she say? Claire lowered her voice into a blunt imitation of Darlene. I understand your father wants the room to himself. I didn't realize he'd rented the bride, too. I closed my eyes. That was wrong, I said. Do you sound pleased? No. You do. I'm sorry she said that. I don't want your apology. I want you to stop telling people. Then stop giving them false reasons to ask. I am trying to protect you. From what? From everyone knowing you couldn't put aside your feelings for one day. My hand went cold around the phone. Is that what you told them? I said you were overwhelmed. No. You said I couldn't put aside my feelings. I didn't use those exact words. What exact words did you use? This isn't a deposition. Did you tell Darlene I refused to attend? I said you chose not to. I got up from the bed and walked into the hallway. The house was dim except for the light over the stove. You wrote, "Do not attend, Claire." I wrote, "Please." I stopped walking. She went quiet as if she had heard it too. Mom, no. Don't repair that sentence. Sit with it. I didn't mean it that way. How did you mean it? I meant I asked you. I didn't order you. Was I allowed to say no? Of course. And attend? Silence. That isn't a choice, I said. I can't do this tonight. Then don't. I have 8 days until my wedding. My brother barely spoke to me through dinner. Aunt Darlene thinks I'm a monster, and my fiancé is unloading centerpieces at 10 o'clock because you decided to abandon everything. You picked up those centerpieces from my house yesterday. You know what I mean. Yes, I said. I finally do. She hung up. Sam called 5 minutes later. Before you ask, I did not throw food, strike Dad, or insult the color stone, he said. What did you do? I ate dinner. And Claire asked me to say a few words at the wedding. Are you going to? I told her I would. I sat at the kitchen table. That's good, I said. Is it? If you want to. He was quiet. I told her I saw the card. My eyes went to the laptop, now closed. What did she say? That you made me ask for it. I didn't. I know. The words settled heavily between us. I'm going to the wedding, he said. I looked at the empty chairs around me. All right. I'm not choosing her. I know. I'm not choosing Dad. I know. I just don't want the next thing I do to be something I can't undo. For a moment, I couldn't speak. That sounds very wise, I managed. Don't make it weird. I wouldn't dream of it. After we hung up, I opened the Coastal Inn's confirmation email and added the wedding weekend to my calendar. Then I changed the event's title from Claire's Wedding to Strategic Dampness. Joanne responded to the calendar invitation with a thumbs up, a rain cloud, and a lobster. I called her. What does the lobster mean? It means coastal. We are not eating lobster. Then it means freedom. You can't assign freedom to shellfish. You named a vacation Strategic Dampness. We left reason behind several exits ago. The next few days were full of objects Claire couldn't find. The ivory place cards were not in the table number box. The florist's revised invoice was missing. Someone had misplaced the seating diagram with the tiny red circles indicating guests who could not be placed near Richard. The hotel had received 46 welcome bags but expected 48, and Claire wanted to know whether I had counted them wrong. I had. There had only ever been 46. You said 48, Claire told me over the phone. I said there were 48 guests receiving them. 2 couples share rooms. You could have written that down. It's on the inventory. Where? Under welcome bags. There was a rustle of paper. Claire exhaled. You put it in parentheses. Yes, I didn't see it. All right. You could have highlighted it. I could have. She waited for me to apologize. I waited for her to ask her next question. Where's the florist invoice? She said. Green folder, right pocket, behind the proposal. It isn't there. Then someone moved it. No one moved it. Claire, I handed that folder to Evan. So now it's his fault? I didn't say anything was his fault. You always do that. Do what? Say something in this calm voice and then act like I'm unreasonable for hearing what you meant. I stared at the refrigerator while she spoke. The lobster magnet held a grocery list now. Coffee, oranges, trash bags. The crackers Joanne liked but pretended were for guests. I mean exactly what I said, I told her. The invoice was behind the proposal when it left my house. Could you check your email and send it again? Yes. The answer came out by instinct. I closed my eyes. Thank you, she said, suddenly softer. I know everything is awful right now. I opened the invoice on my laptop. The florist had sent it 4 weeks earlier after Claire changed the number of arrangements for the 3rd time. My cursor hovered over forward. Claire. What? You need to contact the florist yourself. You already have the email open. I'm forwarding it now. After that, please ask her to use your address. A small pause. Why are you making every little thing into a boundary? Because apparently we didn't have any. I sent the invoice before she could answer. That afternoon, Evan called. He began with, I'm not asking you to do anything, which suggested he was about to ask me to do something. I found the invoice, he said. So did I. It was in the green folder. I'm glad. It had slipped behind the inside flap. All right. He cleared his throat. Claire hasn't slept much. I'm sorry. She's trying to hold a lot. So are you. Yeah. There was a warmth in his silence, the sound of someone grateful to have been included in the category of people with feelings. Listen, he said. I know the way she handled this was wrong. The way she handled it, the card, the wording, all of it. And the decision? Another silence. Evan had many kinds of silence. This one belonged to a man testing each available truth for structural weakness. I understand why she's scared Dad won't show, he said. That wasn't my question. I know. I carried the phone onto the back porch. The railing he had repaired was smooth beneath my hand. Did she ask you to call me? No, she doesn't know I'm calling. Then why are you? I thought maybe there was a compromise nobody's seeing. You've had 8 days to find one. What if you came to the reception after Richard left? Is he planning to leave early? No, but he usually does. I almost laughed. I could text you, Evan continued. You could come for the last hour, the dancing, the cake. We could have a seat ready. Where? What? Where would this ready seat be while I wasn't in it? We'd figure it out. Would people know I was coming? I don't know. We wouldn't have to make a big announcement. So I would wait near the venue until my ex-husband was finished enjoying my daughter's wedding, then slip in after dinner without anyone knowing. When you say it like that, how else should I say it? He let out a breath. I'm trying, Helen. I know you are. I don't want her to lose you over this. The sentence hurt because it was kinder than anything Claire had said, and because it still made the loss sound accidental. She isn't losing me, I said. She is changing what she can ask from me. I don't think she understands the difference. She will. What if she doesn't? I looked out at the yard. The grass needed cutting. One of my clay flower pots had cracked cleanly down the side, but the plant inside it kept growing as if containment were a technicality. Then I'll have to understand it for both of us. He thanked me for taking the call. His politeness had never felt sad before. The following evening, Claire appeared on my porch without warning. She wore black leggings, a loose gray sweater, and the expression of someone prepared to be refused entry. "I need Grandma's earrings," she said when I opened the door. They had belonged to my mother, small pearl drops with old-fashioned screwbacks that hurt after several hours. Claire had asked to wear them during her first dress fitting. I'd said yes before she finished the question. "They're upstairs. I know this is awkward. It's all right. I didn't know if you still wanted me to have them. I said you could wear them. That was before. Before you asked me not to come?" Her eyes flicked toward the neighbor's house. No one was outside. "Yes, come in." She stepped into the entryway and looked toward the dining room. I had put the salt and pepper back on the table. The pale dust marks were gone. I'd moved the chairs into their usual places, but Claire stared as if the boxes had left holes. "You changed it back," she said. "It's a dining room." "I know." I went upstairs. When I returned with the velvet box, she was standing beside the table, running one finger over the old scratch in the wood. I held out the earrings. Claire didn't take them immediately. "Grandma wanted me to have these someday, right? She told me you could borrow them when you were old enough not to lose them. That's not the same." "No. Do you want them back after?" "Yes. They're still mine." She gave a quick nod and accepted the box. "I thought maybe wearing them would make it feel like part of you was there," she said. My hand was still extended between us. I lowered it. "I don't want my earrings attending in my place." Her face folded. "That isn't what I meant. I know, I am trying to keep you with me. You asked me to stay away. I asked you not to come to one event. You keep reducing it to the number of hours, because you keep turning it into the rest of our lives. I'm not the one who chose the event." She pressed the velvet box between both palms. "I don't know what you want me to do now. I want you to understand what you already did. I can't cancel the wedding. I haven't asked you to. I can't tell Dad not to come. I haven't asked you to do that either. Then what? You want me to call you and say I'm a terrible daughter? No. It feels like that's the only answer you'll accept. I would accept the truth." "What truth?" "That you were afraid your father might leave, so you removed the person you knew would stay." She looked at me with tears standing in her eyes. "That's not fair," she whispered. The phrase had begun to sound worn between us, like a coin passed through too many hands. "No," I said, "it isn't." She opened the box and touched one pearl with her thumb. "What are you doing this weekend?" "Going away with Joanne." "Where?" "The coast." "What part?" "Near Bellwether Bay." "You hate those little inns." I'm broadening myself. A breath of laughter escaped her, unwilling and familiar. For a second, I saw my daughter instead of the bride defending a decision. Then she asked, "Will you have your phone?" "Yes." "Will you answer?" "I don't know. What if I need you?" The question was so naked that I almost reached for her. "Evan will be there," I said. "It's not the same." "No." She closed the box. I should go. "All right." At the door, she turned back. "Dad would have come even if you were there." "Probably." I stared at her. "Then why did you do this?" I said probably. I didn't know. I couldn't risk finding out on the day. She left before I could answer. I watched from the window as she sat in her car, shoulders shaking. The old reflex moved through me again. Shoes, keys, go to her. I held the curtain until my fingers cramped. After several minutes, Claire wiped her face, checked her mirror, and drove away. The morning before the wedding, Joanne arrived at 8 in a straw hat large enough to receive satellite signals. She loaded her suitcase into my trunk, then removed it and put it in hers because she didn't trust my car to understand leisure. Before we left, I checked the kitchen twice, watered the plant in the cracked pot, and stood at the bottom of the stairs looking toward my bedroom. "You're not bringing the dress," Joanne said behind me. "I wasn't going to." "You were thinking about it." "I was thinking about whether I left the iron plugged in. You haven't ironed since Tuesday." I locked the front door. We drove with the windows cracked and Joanne's directions arguing with the car's navigation system. Halfway there, my phone buzzed. Claire had sent a photograph of the pearl earrings lying beside her veil. "Thank you for letting me wear them. I love you." I read it twice. Then I typed, "I love you too." I didn't add anything else. At the inn, 2 wooden seagulls stood on the front desk beside a bowl of peppermints. Joanne nudged me. "Say nothing." I wasn't going to. "You had your judgment face. This is my face." The desk clerk handed us old brass keys tied to pieces of driftwood. Outside, beyond the porch, the ocean moved under a low silver sky. My phone buzzed again in my purse. I did not look at it. It buzzed a third time while the clerk explained breakfast baskets. "Do you need to get that?" she asked. "No." Joanne said, "She does not." The clerk glanced between us and slid 2 breakfast menus across the desk. "You can choose sweet or savory." "Savory," Joanne said. "I haven't looked." "You don't want the French toast?" "I might. You'll complain that it's sticky." The clerk began to retreat into the office. "I'll have savory," I said. Our room was on the 2nd floor, with 2 narrow beds, a decorative fireplace, and 4 framed paintings of boats battling weather no sensible person would have sailed into. Joanne opened the curtains and pronounced the view adequate. I put my suitcase on a luggage rack beneath a sign asking guests not to place suitcases on the beds. My phone remained in my purse. "You can look," Joanne said. "I know, I'm not running a hostage situation. You told the desk clerk I didn't need my phone." She looked young. I wanted to project authority. "You're wearing a hat with a ribbon tied under your chin. Authority comes in many forms." I took out the phone. The first message was from Sam. "Dad keeps asking everyone whether Mom changed her mind. I told him you weren't invited. That went well." The second was from Claire. "I'm sorry I left like that. I shouldn't have come over when I was emotional. Not, I'm sorry I asked you not to attend. Not, come anyway." The third message, also from Claire, said, "Please don't discuss our conversation about Dad with anyone. I don't want him upset before tomorrow." I put the phone face down on the dresser. "Well?" Joanne asked. "Breakfast is between 8 and 9:30. That bad?" Savory was the correct choice. We spent the afternoon walking through town. Bellwether Bay had 6 stores selling variations of the same striped sweater, 3 places to buy candles that smelled like wood, and a bookstore arranged according to rules known only to the owner. Joanne bought a mystery novel because she liked the dog on the cover. I bought a postcard of the harbor and immediately wondered who I was supposed to send it to. At dinner, the restaurant gave us a table near the window. The ocean was iron gray, and a fishing boat moved across it so slowly it appeared pinned to the glass. Joanne ordered mussels. "I thought lobster meant freedom," I said. "Lobster was symbolic. Mussels are dinner." My phone rang while the waiter poured water. Richard's name appeared. Joanne leaned far enough across the table to see. "I can spill something on it." "I'm not answering." "You could block him." "No." "Why?" "Because then I'd spend the evening wondering what he wanted." "You're spending it wondering anyway. That's different. It has exactly the same face." I declined the call. A voicemail appeared, but I left it unopened. The mussels arrived in a pot large enough to bathe in. Joanne ate 4, then admitted she didn't like them. I had ordered chicken because adventurousness had limits. We traded plates. "This is too salty," she said after one bite. "You're eating it anyway." I paid coastal prices. For almost an hour, we talked about everything except the wedding. Joanne wanted to repaint her kitchen, but had selected 7 shades of yellow that looked identical. I told her they were identical. She said one had a more intellectual warmth, which made me laugh hard enough to choke on a French fry. Then the restaurant changed its music. The opening piano notes were familiar. Claire had sent me 15 possible songs for her dance with Richard before choosing this one. She'd asked if the lyrics sounded too sad. I had listened 3 times and told her they sounded hopeful. I set down my glass. Joanne motioned to the waiter. "Could you change the music?" He looked startled. "Is something wrong?" "Yes," she said. "No," I said at the same time. He glanced between us. "The song is fine," I told him. "It is not," Joanne said. "It is emotionally unsanitary." The waiter escaped toward the kitchen. I looked out the window. You can't have him change every song that reminds me. I can try. Then we'll end up listening to experimental jazz. I'm willing to make sacrifices." I smiled, but the tears came anyway. They slid down my face without warning, one after another. I turned toward the window and pressed my napkin beneath my eyes. Joanne did not touch me. She did not tell me Claire would regret it or that everything happened for a reason. She ate my overly salty chicken and waited. When the song ended, she said, "I can steal the tiny pepper grinder if you need a crime." "I don't. It's charming." "Put it down." She put it down. Back at the inn, I listened to Richard's voicemail. "Helen, it's me. I heard you've gone out of town. I wish you hadn't made such a production of this." Claire is already emotional, and Sam confronted me in front of Evan. For her sake, I hope you'll tell him to let it go. We can all get through tomorrow if everyone behaves like an adult. I deleted it, then worried deleting it seemed dramatic. There was no way to undelete the drama. The breakfast basket arrived the next morning with eggs, biscuits, fruit, and a small glass jar of jam Joanne put directly into her purse. "That belongs to the inn," I said. "It came in our basket. The plate came in our basket, too. The plate doesn't seal." By 9, I had checked my phone 11 times. At 9:17, Sam sent a photograph of his tie hanging unevenly around his neck. Emergency. I called him. He answered on video, his face filling the screen from an angle that gave him 3 chins. "Put the phone somewhere," I said. "I have nowhere." "You're in a hotel room. There are surfaces." He propped it against a lamp. He wore a white shirt and the stone-colored trousers. His hair was still damp. "Where's Evan?" I asked. "With his brother." Dad tried to help, but he tied it backward. "Your father wore clip-ons until he was 40. I didn't know that. He didn't advertise." I talked Sam through the knot. He did it incorrectly twice, then blamed the tie. "Start over. I'm going to wear it loose. You are not. Why do you care? You're not even here." The words landed. Sam closed his eyes. "I'm sorry, it's all right." "No, it isn't. Start over." He pulled the narrow end too far. "Other side," I said. "This is a system designed by people who hate necks." "Probably." On the 4th attempt, the knot sat straight. "Looks good," I told him. He leaned toward the camera. "You sure?" "Pull it a little tighter." He did. Behind him, someone knocked. "Sam?" Richard called through the door. "Transportation leaves in 10. Sam looked toward the sound. "Is that Mom?" Richard asked. Sam picked up the phone. "I have to go." "I know." "You okay?" "Yes." Dental office voice. "I'm at a damp inn with Joanne. I'm as okay as circumstances allow." He nodded. "I'm going to mention you in my speech. You don't have to. I want to." "Don't use your speech to correct Claire." His jaw tightened. "Sam, I heard you. That isn't the same as agreeing. I'm late. Have a good day." He started to end the call, then stopped. "I love you. I love you too." The screen went dark. At 11:30, Claire called. By then, Joanne and I were dressed to walk along a bluff trail. She wore waterproof boots, a red raincoat, and the stolen jam in her pocket because she had forgotten to remove it. The phone rang until it nearly stopped before I answered. "Hi," Claire said. Music and voices moved behind her. "Hi, I'm getting ready." "I know." There was a pause. "I can't get Grandma's earrings on. They have screwbacks." "I know, but the right one won't catch." "Are you holding it straight?" "I think so." "Use a mirror from the side." The post is slightly bent. I heard her set down the phone. Women spoke around her in low, efficient voices. Someone asked whether she needed the makeup artist. Claire said no. "It worked," she said. "It's on." "Good." Another pause. "I'm wearing the veil. I'm sure it looks beautiful." "You haven't seen it finished. I saw it at the fitting. It's different with everything. I'm sure." Her breathing changed. "Mom." "Yes?" I waited. A woman in the background announced that photographs would begin in 5 minutes. Claire whispered, "I wish this hadn't gotten so awful." The old instinct rose again, offering me a dozen sentences that would relieve her without asking her to change anything. "I wish that too," I said. She cried quietly. Your makeup, I reminded her. A wet laugh escaped her. That is such a mom thing to say. I am still your mother, I know. Neither of us spoke. Claire, someone called. We need you. I have to go. I know. I love you. I love you too. I swallowed. Have a beautiful wedding. She ended the call without asking me to come. At 1:45, 15 minutes before the ceremony, I turned off my phone. Joanne and I walked the bluff trail beneath a sky that couldn't decide whether to rain. The wind pushed our jackets against us and carried the smell of wet grass and salt. Far below, waves struck the rocks with a sound I felt through the soles of my shoes. At 2, I stopped walking. Joanne stopped beside me. They're beginning, I said. She looked at her watch but didn't correct me. I could see it without trying. Claire at the end of the aisle, her hand tucked through Richard's arm. Sam standing near Evan in his stone-colored suit. The pearl earrings moving when she turned her head. The empty place where I would have been if there was an empty place at all. Joanne held out her hand. I took it. We stood there until 2:15. Then I started walking again. I kept the phone off through dinner and through the evening, though I woke twice in the dark reaching toward the bedside table. At 6 the next morning, I turned it on. Messages flooded the screen. Photographs loaded one after another before I could stop them. Claire beneath an arch of white flowers. Evan looking at her as if the room had disappeared. Sam smiling beside them, his tie still straight. Richard lifting a glass during his speech. Darlene in the background of one picture, staring at him with visible suspicion. The wedding had been beautiful. Nothing had burned. No one had walked out. The weather had held. A message from Sam waited beneath the photographs. It was a good wedding. I'm sorry. I mentioned you, Claire cried. Dad gave a speech about always showing up. Then another message appeared from Claire. Thank you for giving me the day I needed. I hope someday you'll understand why. I read Claire's message until the words lost their shape. Thank you for giving me the day I needed. She had turned my absence into a gift she could thank me for, something generous I had chosen instead of something she had required. Joanne sat up in the other bed, her hair flattened on one side. You're making the face, she said. What face? The one where you mentally rewrite someone else's sentence until it hurts less. I handed her the phone. She put on her glasses, read the message, and said, I preferred the seagulls. Give it back. Are you answering? I don't know. You don't owe her an answer at 6 in the morning. I know. She'll be asleep. I know. You say you know when you plan to ignore me. I looked at the wedding photographs again. In one, Claire stood between Richard and Evan. Richard's hand rested against the middle of her back as if he had guided her there. Her pearls caught the light. She looked radiant and relieved. I typed, You looked happy. I hope you were. Joanne read over my shoulder. That's cold, she said. I didn't ask you to read it. You're typing in letters visible from space. I deleted the message, then typed it again exactly the same. Is it true? She asked. Yes, then send it. I did. Claire did not answer. We ate our savory breakfast by the window. Joanne returned the empty jam jar to the basket, which I considered moral progress until I discovered she had taken the tiny spoon. It's a jam spoon, she said. It can't survive without the jar. You separated them. I made a mistake in the excitement. The drive home took longer because Joanne stopped at an antique market advertised on a hand-painted sign. She wanted a yellow bowl and spent 40 minutes examining every bowl except the yellow ones. I bought nothing. Objects felt demanding to me. They expected to be carried, placed, remembered. When we reached my house, a white bakery box sat on the porch. Inside were 2 slices of wedding cake wrapped in wax paper and a note in Sam's handwriting. Didn't know if you wanted this. Didn't know if you didn't. The cake had white frosting, lemon filling, and 3 crushed sugar flowers pressed against the lid. I put it in the refrigerator. Joanne carried my suitcase upstairs despite my objections. At the bedroom door, she looked toward the garment bag at the far end of the closet. You want me to stay? she asked. No. Do you want to come to my place? No. Do you want me to ask another question so you can reject that too? I hugged her. She held me for a moment, then said into my hair, I still have the spoon. I know. After she left, the house was too neat. I unpacked, started laundry, watered the plants I had watered before leaving, and moved the wedding cake from one refrigerator shelf to another. At 4, Sam came over still wearing the pale shirt from the day before. He had changed out of the stone suit but carried it draped over one arm. You can't return that wrinkled? I said. Nice to see you too. Hang it on the hall hook. He did, then stood in the kitchen with his hands in his pockets. How was the drive? Fine. The inn? Damp. He nodded. Wedding was dry. I saw. Right? We both looked at the refrigerator. I brought cake, he said. I found it. I didn't know whether that was insulting. Neither did I. Darlene said it was more insulting not to bring cake. Darlene ate shrimp. She said shellfish restrictions don't apply at weddings. She's going to outlive us all through stubbornness. Sam smiled, but his eyes were tired. Do you want to tell me about it? I asked. I don't know. Do you want me to ask questions? No. All right. He sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee neither of us needed and placed the sugar bowl between us. Claire looked beautiful, he said. I know. Evan cried before she got halfway down the aisle. That sounds like him. Dad cried too. I stirred my coffee, though I hadn't added anything. Sam leaned back. You don't have to hear this, I asked. No, you asked if I wanted to tell you. That's different. Did you enjoy yourself? His face tightened. It isn't a trap, I said. Parts of it. I'm glad. Are you? Yes. He looked down at his hands. I kept thinking I shouldn't. Enjoy it? Yeah. You're allowed to love your sister while she hurts me. I wanted something to go wrong. I waited. Not a disaster, he said quickly. Nothing dangerous. I just wanted the cake to lean or Dad's pants to split. Something small enough to prove the universe had noticed. The universe delegated to Darlene. He laughed and covered his face. What did she do? I asked. She asked Dad whether always showing up included arriving after the photographer. He was late? 7 minutes. Traffic. Of course. She also told Evan's mother you were at a health retreat. What? She said it before I could stop her. I was at an inn. She said your health improved near saltwater. I closed my eyes. I'm going to kill her. She considers this support. What did Claire tell people? That you were overwhelmed and decided a quiet weekend would be better for everyone. I opened my eyes. Sam's expression was apologetic, as if he had repeated the lie instead of reported it. Did anyone ask you? I said. Evan's brother did. What did you say? I said you were where Claire asked you to be. I looked at him. He thought I meant the coast, Sam said. I didn't correct him. That's probably best. I mentioned you in my speech, so you said. I didn't use it to correct her. What did you say? He took a breath. I said Claire taught me how to want big things, and you taught both of us that loving someone means showing up when the big things get difficult. The kitchen blurred. I looked down before he could see. I didn't know Dad was going to give his speech after mine. He continued. He stood up and said he agreed that family was about showing up. Then he talked for 12 minutes. 12? Evan's mother timed him. What did Claire do when you mentioned me? She cried, not a lot. She touched the earrings. I pressed my thumb against the rim of my cup. Dad was angry afterward, Sam said. He said I'd made Claire feel guilty. Did she say that? No. She hugged me. Then let Richard manage his own feelings. He asked me to remove your name from the printed copy for the wedding album. I looked up. Did you? I told him there wasn't a printed copy. Was there? No. I wrote it on a hotel notepad 10 minutes before. That sounds like you. Mom. Yes? I'm sorry I went. The words were barely audible. I reached across the table. He gave me his hand reluctantly, like he suspected comfort might become evidence. I'm not, I said. He frowned. You made a choice you could live with. I meant it when I told you to. It still felt like choosing. Most things do once they cost somebody. He squeezed my hand. That night, I ate one slice of wedding cake standing at the counter. It was very good. I hated that it was good. I wrapped the second slice and put it in the freezer, though I had no idea what I was saving it for. Wedding photographs appeared online over the next several days. I avoided them until avoidance became its own occupation. Then I looked at all of them at once. There were pictures of Claire dressing, her veil spread across a white bed, photographs of Richard seeing her for the first time, Richard fastening a bracelet on her wrist, Richard walking beside her through the garden, Richard dancing with her beneath strings of lights. My mother's pearl earrings appeared in close-ups. I was present as jewelry. Claire and Evan went to Vancouver for 6 days. She sent one message from the airport saying they had landed. Another contained a photograph of 2 coffee cups beside a rain-streaked window. I reacted with a heart because ignoring it felt theatrical. When she called the day after they returned, her voice was bright and careful. "We brought you something. You didn't have to. It's just a little gift. Can we come for dinner Sunday?" I was standing in the grocery store comparing 2 brands of mustard. "No." She laughed uncertainly. "You have plans. I'm not ready to have dinner as if nothing happened." "Oh." A cart squeaked past me. "I thought we could give you the earrings back," she said. "You can drop them off and show you the pictures." The photographer sent a preview. There are beautiful ones. I've seen photographs. Not all of them. I don't need to see all of them. Her brightness disappeared. "I thought we agreed to celebrate privately afterward. You suggested it." I said no. "You said no to me wearing the dress again. We don't have to do that. I'm not having a substitute wedding dinner. It would be dinner with your daughter and her husband. Then let's have it when we can actually talk about what happened. I don't want every conversation to become a punishment. It isn't punishment to acknowledge reality. It feels like punishment when you control when I'm allowed to see you." I put both jars of mustard back on the shelf. "You controlled whether I was allowed to see you get married. That was one day, and this is one dinner." She went silent. I closed my eyes. That was unkind. At least you can admit it. "Yes. Are you going to change your answer?" "No." A woman reached around me for mustard. I moved aside. Claire said, "I called you before the ceremony." "I remember. I wanted you with me. You wanted me on the phone. I almost asked you to come." My breath caught. "Why didn't you?" "Because Dad was already there. People were getting dressed. Transportation was arranged. It would have caused chaos. There was always a practical reason available after the emotional decision had been made." "I see," I said. "No, you don't. You've decided the worst possible version of me is the true one. I think the true version was afraid." "I was, and you made me pay for it." She began crying. For once, I didn't move toward the sound. "I have to go," she said. "All right. You're really going to let me hang up like this? What are you asking me to do, Claire?" "I don't know. Be my mother." The grocery store lights hummed above me. "I am your mother," I said. "That's why this hurts enough to change things." She ended the call. A minute later, a message arrived from Evan. "I know she handled this badly, but she needs you right now." I stared at it beside the rows of mustard. Then I put my phone in my purse and walked out of the store without buying anything. I made it to my car before realizing I had left my cart in the middle of the condiment aisle. For 10 seconds, I considered driving away. Then I pictured an employee finding the empty cart, one wheel turned sideways, as if its owner had been lifted into heaven between the Dijon and the yellow mustard. I went back inside. By the time I reached home, Evan's message had been joined by another. "I'm sorry. That was unfair. You don't have to answer." I didn't. Sunday afternoon, a car door closed outside. I looked through the front window and saw Evan unloading a covered cake stand, 2 silver serving trays, and a white shopping bag from his trunk. He rang the bell with his elbow. "I should have called," he said when I opened the door. "Yes." "Claire thinks I'm at the gym." "You should go to the gym. I'm holding a cake stand. That isn't exercise?" He smiled despite himself. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He carried everything to the dining room and arranged it on the table with excessive care. The cake stand had been mine for 27 years. My mother gave it to me after I hosted my first Thanksgiving and served pie directly from an aluminum pan. She told me it was time to own something with a pedestal. The white shopping bag held the pearl earrings and a small box wrapped in metallic paper. "Claire wanted you to have this," Evan said. "What is it?" "Tea from Vancouver. I have tea." "I know. You know? You have an entire drawer. That doesn't mean I can't have more." "You sounded offended." "I'm not offended. Neither of us touched the gift." Evan looked around the dining room. "It looks different. You're the second person to say that. The boxes took up a lot of space." They did. He ran his thumb along the edge of the serving tray. Claire was going to bring these herself. What changed? Our fight. I waited. "She told me you wouldn't have dinner with us. I said maybe she should stop asking you to make her feel better. That must have gone well. She threw a throw pillow. At you? Near me. Important distinction. She said I supported her decision. You did." "I know." The humor left his face. "I keep thinking about that." I sat across from him. He remained standing until I gestured toward a chair. He lowered himself into it and rested his forearms on the table. Evan was broad-shouldered and usually carried himself with an easy physical confidence. That afternoon, he looked as if someone had handed him a fragile object with no instructions. "I thought my job was to back her up," he said. "In everything? No." "Then why this?" "Because she was panicking. Every time your name and Richard's came up together, she stopped sleeping. She'd make seating charts at 3 in the morning. She kept saying if you two had another confrontation, the whole day would become about the divorce. The divorce was years ago, that's what I said. And she said it wasn't over for her." I looked at the scratch on my table. "Maybe it isn't," I said. Evan nodded. "She was convinced Richard would leave if he felt uncomfortable. She said if you were the one who stayed home, at least she'd know you still loved her afterward." There it was, stated without decoration. "She knew I would absorb it," I said. "I don't think she thought of it that way." "No, that was the useful part." He looked toward the window. "I should have told her no. Would she have listened? I don't know. Would you have canceled the wedding?" His eyes returned to mine. "No." "Then don't invent a brave version of yourself after the cost has been paid." He flinched. "I'm sorry," I said. "No." "You're right. I can be right and cruel at the same time. I've recently been reminded." He leaned back. "She calls you the permanent parent." I said nothing. "She has for years. Whenever Richard cancels or disappears, she says, 'It's okay. Mom is permanent.' I thought she meant secure, like you were the person she never had to doubt. That may be what she meant. I think I heard it as permission. For what? To believe you'd forgive anything." The tea sat between us in its bright paper. "Permanent does not mean disposable," I said. He looked down. From the kitchen, the refrigerator motor switched on. A truck passed outside, rattling the loose storm drain at the curb. "I'm sorry," Evan said. "For which part?" "For knowing. For helping her phrase it. For telling myself it was her family and therefore not mine to interfere with. For calling you from the store like you were a medication she needed. I wasn't at the store when you called." He blinked. "You texted." "Oh, I was at the store then." A small laugh escaped him. "Right. You don't need to apologize perfectly. I'd settle for competently. You did fine." He looked relieved, and I regretted relieving him. Then I regretted the regret. Hurt had begun turning every kindness into something I needed to audit. "Does Claire know you disagree with her now?" I asked. "She knows I think the card was cruel. That isn't what I asked." "No. I haven't told her I think the decision was wrong." "Why not? Because we just got married. You were also about to get married when you supported it." He rubbed his hands together. "I don't know how to fix this without making our marriage the next thing that breaks. You can't fix it. I have to do something. Tell your wife the truth. Then let her decide what to do with it." What if it makes everything worse? I picked up the velvet earring box and opened it. Both pearls lay inside. Truth often has terrible timing, I said. That sounds like something Richard would quote out of context. Then don't tell him. Evan smiled faintly. He stood and gathered the empty shopping bag. Thank you for bringing these back, I said. Claire was worried you thought she'd keep the earrings. I didn't. She thought, because you documented the tip money, I documented it because I was worried she might decide something had happened to it. His expression tightened. She wouldn't accuse you of stealing. No, but she might say I forgot to return it. Right now, forgetting and refusing and choosing are all very flexible words. He nodded, uncomfortable. At the door, he paused. She loves you. I know. That makes this harder, doesn't it? Yes. He left. I carried the serving pieces into the kitchen. The cake stand no longer fit in its old cabinet because I had filled the space with mixing bowls while it was gone. I spent 20 minutes rearranging shelves before realizing I was reorganizing my kitchen around an object returned from a wedding I had not attended. I put the stand on top of the refrigerator and left it there. Claire called that night. I answered on the fourth ring. Did Evan come by? She asked. Yes. He lied to me. He said he was going to the gym. I know what he said. He brought my things back and talked about me. I sat on the edge of my bed. We talked about what happened. That was private. I was involved. You know what I mean? Yes. You mean you wanted to control which version he gave me? She inhaled sharply. He says he was wrong to support me. Is that what he said to you? He says he failed some moral test. I didn't use those words. He got them from somewhere. Maybe he has his own mind. He didn't have these concerns before you refused to see me. I didn't refuse to see you. I said I wasn't ready for dinner. Do you hear yourself? You're parsing every word like a contract. No. I'm being careful because words keep changing after you say them. That sounds like something you rehearsed. It didn't. Did you tell him our marriage might break? No. He said you asked if he was afraid our marriage would break. He told me he was afraid, and you used it against him. I told him to be honest with you. About what? That's a question for your husband. She went quiet. Don't make him carry messages between us, I said. He went to you, and I sent him back. I needed him on my side. The words were simple, almost young. He can love you without agreeing with you, I said. You say that because Sam chose you. Sam attended your wedding. That's not what I mean. What do you mean? He made me feel guilty the entire day. He barely spoke to Dad. He put you in his speech after I asked him not to. You asked him not to mention me? I knew it would upset everyone. Who is everyone? Dad. There it was again. One person enlarged until he filled every available room. I rubbed my forehead. I'm not discussing Sam with you. Of course not. What does that mean? It means everyone gets protected except me. You had an entire wedding arranged around protecting you. A wedding you're now using to punish me. We had circled back to the same locked door. I'm going to hang up, I said. Right. Because the conversation is uncomfortable. The imitation of Richard was so exact that I wondered if she heard it. I love you, I said. We'll talk another time. Don't say that right before hanging up. Why? Because it sounds like you're forgiving yourself. I ended the call before my anger selected a sentence for me. The next several weeks established a rhythm I had never wanted. Claire would reach out with something small, a photograph from the honeymoon, a question about whether a sweater could be washed in cold water, an invitation to meet for coffee, and the conversation would travel toward the wedding as if pulled by gravity. She wanted me either to forgive her completely or accuse her loudly enough that she could defend herself. I did neither. We met for coffee once. She talked about Vancouver, work, and the difficulty of combining 2 apartments worth of furniture. When she mentioned the wedding photographer, both of us became careful. She asked whether I wanted a framed photograph of her and Evan. Yes, I said. She looked surprised. Why wouldn't I? I thought seeing it might hurt you. It will. I still want one. Her eyes filled. She turned toward the window until they cleared. We finished our coffee without discussing the dress code card. It was not reconciliation, but it was the first hour we spent together without one of us trying to force the other toward an ending. Sam began calling more often. He invited me to a baseball game and complained when I asked which teams were playing. Joanne repainted her kitchen a yellow that looked white. Darlene sent me a photograph of herself eating shrimp with the caption, "Still alive." My life did not become larger in a cinematic way. It became slightly less available. I stopped keeping Sundays open in case Claire called. I joined Joanne for a weekly card game at the community center, where 4 women named Barbara accused one another of cheating with impressive creativity. I had no talent for cards and liked that nobody expected me to. One Saturday, I drove to the hardware store for a replacement pot for the plant that had cracked its old one. I was comparing 2 nearly identical sizes in the garden aisle when someone behind me said my name. Richard stood beside a display of watering cans, wearing sunglasses on top of his head and the blue shirt he reserved for occasions when he wanted to look approachable. "I heard you had a nice trip," he said. "It was damp." He smiled as if we shared the joke. "I've been meaning to call," he said. "You did?" I didn't call back. "Right." I picked up the larger pot. Richard placed one hand on the cart, stopping it. "I wanted to thank you," he said, "for stepping aside at the wedding. Claire told me it was your idea." For a moment, the garden aisle seemed to narrow around us. "My idea," I said. Richard's hand remained on the cart. "That's what she said." "When? When what? When did she tell you?" He took his hand away. "Before the wedding." "How long before?" "I don't know. A week or 2. The dress code card had arrived 12 days before the wedding." "What exactly did Claire say?" Richard glanced toward the end of the aisle where an employee was watering rows of herbs. "Does it matter?" "Yes. She said you decided it would be better if you weren't there." "Better for whom?" "Everyone." I put the pot back on the shelf because I no longer trusted myself to hold it. "And you believe that? She said you understood how important the day was to her. Did you believe I would voluntarily miss my daughter's wedding?" His face shifted. Not guilt, irritation at being asked to inspect something he had found convenient. "I believed you were putting Claire first," he said, "by disappearing, by avoiding conflict." "What conflict?" "You know what conflict." "No, Richard, tell me." He lowered his voice. "After the engagement dinner, I said I wasn't sure I could go through another scene. You called one true sentence a scene. It wasn't the sentence. It was the hostility behind it. I did not ask you what you thought of my tone. Did you tell Claire you would not attend if I was there? No. Did you imply it? I told her I felt unwelcome. At whose wedding?" He removed the sunglasses from his head and folded them. It was an old habit. Richard liked to hold an object when he believed a conversation had become unreasonable. "I didn't give her an ultimatum," he said. "I know. She told me that." "Then I'm confused about why you're angry with me. You were standing at my daughter's wedding, thanking yourself for showing up while knowing I'd somehow decided to stay home. I didn't thank myself for anything. Sam said your speech was about always showing up. It was about family, which you described yourself as doing. I was there." The simplicity of it stunned me. "Yes," I said, "you were." An older man pushed a flat cart past us loaded with bags of soil. We moved aside, then remained pressed near the shelves, as if the traffic had settled the argument. Richard looked tired suddenly. He had gone gray around the temples in a way people described as distinguished, though when my hair did the same, Claire brought me a box of color. "I was relieved when she told me," he said. "There it was." "Of course you were." "I'm trying to be honest." "No. You're trying to make your relief sound brave after the fact." "What do you want me to say?" "I didn't want to spend the day wondering when you would take another shot at me. You rewrote our marriage in front of strangers. I made a toast. You called leaving a form of love." "Sometimes it was." The words landed between us with surprising force. Richard's expression changed immediately. That isn't what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. For you, we were miserable, Helen. So you left. Yes. And then you kept leaving long after the marriage was over. He looked toward the employee again. She had moved on to Basil. I've apologized for that, he said. You've expressed regret that Claire remembers it. That's unfair. You like that sentence, too. He put the sunglasses back on his head. I called you before the wedding to tell me not to make a production. I was trying to calm things down. You never asked why I was missing it, Claire had explained. Because her explanation suited you. He didn't deny it. I picked up the smaller pot, though it was clearly too small for the plant. Tell me one thing, I said. If Claire had told you she asked me not to come because she was afraid you might leave, what would you have done? His eyes moved away from mine. That's hypothetical. No, it's one sentence. I don't know. Would you have told her I should be there? I might have. Might. I can't reconstruct a conversation that didn't happen. You reconstruct entire decades. His mouth tightened. This is why people are afraid to talk to you. Which people? Claire. I gripped the pot against my chest. Claire isn't afraid to talk to me. She is afraid I'll remember what she said. You're punishing her. You've been speaking to her. She's my daughter. So am I, apparently, when she needs someone corrected. That's not what I meant. No, it's what you accepted. He stepped closer, lowering his voice again. She's struggling, Helen. She thought the wedding would settle everything, and now you've decided to make this the defining event of your relationship. I didn't decide that. Someone has to end it. Then end your part. What does that mean? Stop letting her use you as the reason she had no choice. Tell her you never asked for mine to be taken away. He gave a small, frustrated shake of his head. I'm not getting between you two. You already stood there. I put the pot in my cart and pushed past him. Helen. I stopped. I am sorry you were hurt, he said. The apology was polished, balanced, and empty enough to float. You don't get absolution because you found me near the petunias, I said. I left without buying soil. At home, the plant's root ball rose 2 inches above the rim of the new pot. I stared at it on the kitchen counter, dirt scattered around the sink, and started laughing. The laugh grew until I had to lean against the cabinet. I had spent $12 on a container that could not hold the thing I intended to put inside it. My mother would have called that a lesson. Joanne would have called it a Tuesday. I put the plant back in its cracked pot and swept up the dirt. Then I texted Claire. Did you tell your father staying away from the wedding was my idea? The message showed as delivered. No answer came. An hour passed, then 2. At 6, Sam called to ask whether I wanted to see a movie. I told him I had a headache. He asked if it required a walker. Darlene told you. Darlene tells everyone. I don't feel like going out. What happened? Nothing I want to discuss right now. That means something happened. Very good. Did Claire call? No. Dad? I saw him at the hardware store. Sam went quiet. Did anybody die? No. Did you buy anything you didn't need? A pot. So yes. I smiled. Want me to come over? He asked. No. Are you sure? Yes. Dental office voice. Samuel. All right. Call me if the pot turns on you. At 8:20, Claire called. You spoke to Dad, she said. Yes, he says you cornered him in a store. He put his hand on my cart. That isn't the point. Apparently nothing is. What did you say to him? I asked what you told him before the wedding. I told him you weren't coming. You told him it was my idea. I told him you agreed it would be better. After you asked me not to attend, you did agree. I said I wouldn't come. That isn't the same as choosing it. You could have come anyway. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table. Could I? I couldn't physically stop you. Would you have welcomed me? She didn't answer. Would there have been a seat for me? We would have found one. Evan told me he would have had to find a seat if I came after Richard left. Was my original seat removed? It was a small venue. Was it removed? We adjusted the seating chart. Who sat there? This is ridiculous. Who? Dad's friend, Martin. I almost corrected her, then realized she meant Richard's friend, a man named Martin Ellis, whom I had met once. The coincidence made the conversation feel briefly absurd. You gave my seat to someone else, I said. We had to finalize numbers. Before or after you sent the card? Why does that matter? Because I'm trying to understand when my absence became part of the design. She began breathing faster. You're making it sound calculated. You adjusted the seating chart. Weddings require seating charts. You told your father I volunteered. You told Sam I refused. You told Darlene I had health concerns. You told the venue I was ill. What did you tell Evan's parents? Her silence answered. What did you tell them? That you were taking some personal time at a coastal health retreat? That was Darlene. Despite myself, I laughed once. Claire did not. Are you enjoying this? No. You sound like you are. I'm trying to keep from screaming. Well, you're making me feel insane. Claire, I asked you one question. Did you tell your father it was my idea? I was trying to protect the wedding. From me? From a fight. There was no fight until you removed me. There would have been. You can pretend all you want, but you and Dad cannot be in the same room without turning me into a referee. We were in the same room at your engagement dinner. I spoke once, and look what happened. You mean he left? Yes. You were afraid he would do it again? Yes. So you removed me first, she cried out. Because you stay. The words rang through the phone. Neither of us spoke. Claire's voice dropped to a whisper. You always stay. I thought you'd be hurt, but I thought we'd get through it. With him, I never know. I closed my eyes. There was the wound inside the cruelty, raw and recognizable. For years, I had tried to make her feel secure enough that Richard's inconsistency would not define her. Instead, she had learned that security was the person you could spend. I'm sorry he taught you that, I said. She cried quietly. But you used it against me. I didn't know what else to do. You could have asked him to promise he would stay. He would have promised, and you wouldn't have believed him. No. So you made me pay for a promise he never broke. He's broken plenty. Not that one. Not yet. She was silent. Did he tell you he was relieved? I asked. What? He said he was relieved I wasn't there. That doesn't mean I know what it means. It means he benefited. It does not mean he made your choice. I never said he did. You let me believe you were protecting yourself from an ultimatum. I told you he didn't say it directly. You placed me outside your wedding because of a sentence he didn't say. You hate him. No. I know him. You hate that I still love him. I spent years making it safe for you to love him. I never asked you to. The sentence entered quietly and did its damage. I looked at the cracked flower pot beside the sink. No, I said. You didn't. Mom, I need some time. Her breathing stopped. What does that mean? It means I don't want calls or coffee for a while. How long? I don't know. You can't just put me on a timeout. I'm not. I'm taking myself out of this argument. You said you weren't leaving me. I'm not leaving you, I'm stepping back. The phrase sounded terrible in Richard's voice and worse in mine. Claire heard it too. So now you're just like him, she said. I nearly took it back. Instead, I said, no, I'm telling you before I go. Then I ended the call. The silence after I hung up felt worse than the argument. I stood in the kitchen with the phone in my hand, waiting for it to ring again. When it didn't, I wanted to call her back. Not because anything had changed, but because my body recognized distance as an emergency. A message appeared. Don't worry. I won't bother you. I sat at the table. The sentence was bait and pain in equal measure. Claire wanted reassurance, but she also wanted me to feel the particular cruelty of being compared to Richard. It worked. I typed 3 different responses and deleted them. Finally, I wrote, I love you. I need 30 days without discussing this so I can stop reacting and decide what I actually need. I will call you on August 18th. If there is a genuine emergency, text me that directly." Her reply came immediately. Very formal. I put the phone down. Another message appeared. "Got it." Then, "Enjoy your time." I turned the phone face down and left it that way. The next morning, Joanne arrived carrying a flower pot large enough to cook soup for a church picnic. "I heard your container was inadequate," she said. "Sam called you. He was concerned." About me? About the plant. The new pot was glazed blue and far more expensive than the plant deserved. Joanne set it beside the cracked one and examined the roots protruding from the bottom. "It's been trying to leave for months," she said. "Apparently that's going around. Do you want to tell me what happened?" "No." "Good. Sam already did." I glared at her. "He gave me the useful parts." "Claire lied to Richard. Richard thanked you for your own exclusion. You bought the wrong pot, and then you requested 30 days of diplomatic silence. It isn't diplomatic. You gave her an emergency contact procedure. I wanted to be clear. You wanted to prove you're not Richard. The accuracy of it irritated me. I am not Richard. I know. I told her when I would call. I know. I'm not disappearing." Joanne knelt beside the plant and spread newspaper across the floor. "Helen, I know." I crouched to help her. We loosened the root ball with our fingers. Dirt packed beneath my nails. Several roots had curled tightly around themselves, following the shape of a container that had stopped serving them long before it cracked. "You aren't wrong to take space," Joanne said. "I know. Then why are you arguing with me? Because you're agreeing in an accusatory way. That's my gift." We lowered the plant into the new pot. "What if she needs me?" I asked. "She has a husband, a brother, friends, an emergency number, and the ability to text the word emergency. That's not what I mean, I know." Joanne pressed soil around the roots. "She may need the version of you who makes her choices survivable. That version is unavailable." I poured water into the pot until it ran through the drainage hole. 30 days is a long time, I said. It is also 30 days. The first week, Claire posted photographs almost daily. I knew because I checked, which made the boundary feel less like distance and more like standing outside her window. There were pictures of the apartment she and Evan were combining, a crooked bookshelf, a new set of dishes, and one photograph of Richard helping hang a mirror. He stood on a chair while Claire steadied the frame. The caption said, "Finally putting Dad to work." I closed the page and reopened it 6 minutes later. On the 9th day, a package arrived. Inside was the framed wedding photograph Claire had promised. She and Evan stood beneath the flower arch, their faces turned toward each other. Richard was nowhere in the frame. Neither was I. Claire had included a note. "You said you still wanted one." I carried the photograph from room to room. The living room felt too public. The bedroom made it look like a memorial. I finally placed it on the bookcase beside a picture of Sam making a face during a family vacation, and another of Claire and me at the coast years earlier, our hair blown across our eyes. The new frame didn't match the others. I left it there. Sam came by twice. The first time, he spent 20 minutes trying to fix a cabinet hinge that wasn't broken. The second, he brought pizza and said, "Claire thinks you're making me report on her." "Are you?" "No." "Then she's mistaken. She also thinks I'm reporting on you." "Are you?" "Only to Joanne. And apparently that network is compromised." I smiled. He picked an olive off his pizza. "She's angry at me for not telling her what you're doing." "What am I doing?" "Card games, plant crimes, normal things. Then there isn't much to report. She says the fact that you're acting normal proves you don't miss her. The pizza lost its taste." "I miss her every day," I said. "I know. Did you tell her?" "No. Why not? Because then she'd use it to call you." I put my slice down. "That isn't your decision. I thought you didn't want me in the middle." "I don't. So get out." His face hardened. "I'm trying to help. By deciding what information your sister is allowed to have." He leaned back. "You really have a problem with people deciding things for you now." "Yes." The answer surprised both of us. Sam looked down. "Fair. You can tell her I miss her if you want. You can tell her nothing. Just don't make choices on my behalf and call it protection. Okay. And stop discussing me with Joanne. That I can't promise. The 30th day arrived on a Friday. I spent the morning aware of the phone in every room. At 10, I nearly called, then decided 10 was too early. At noon, I decided she might be eating lunch. At 3, I accused myself of hiding behind etiquette. I called at 3:15. Claire answered after 2 rings. You remembered, she said. I said I would. I didn't know if that still meant anything. I let the remark pass. How are you? Fine. How is Evan? Fine. The word stood between us twice. I received the photograph, I said. Do you like it? Yes. I put it on the bookcase. Oh. What? I thought you might put it in a drawer. I didn't. She breathed out. Did the 30 days fix you? She asked. No. A small, startled laugh escaped her. It helped me, I said, but I'm not ready to go back to how we were, so the punishment continues. It isn't a punishment. I knew you'd say that. What do you want from me, Claire? I want to know the rules. This isn't about rules. You say you love me, but I never know whether I'm allowed to call. You tell Sam not to choose sides, but he barely speaks to Dad. Evan feels guilty every time the wedding comes up. Aunt Darlene sends me articles about emotional accountability. That may be her new hobby. It isn't funny. It's a little funny. Claire laughed once before catching herself. The sound loosened something in my chest. We could meet for dinner, I said. You and Evan. At your house? No. Somewhere neutral. That sounds like a diplomatic summit. Then choose somewhere with good bread. We met 4 nights later at a small Italian restaurant where the tables were too close together for shouting. Claire arrived wearing the sweater she'd once called impossible to wash. Evan carried an umbrella, though there was no rain. For the first half hour, we managed ordinary conversation. Their landlord had objected to the mirror Richard helped hang. Evan had built the bookshelf backward, then insisted the unfinished side was an industrial design choice. Claire asked about my card game and seemed relieved when I complained about the Barbaras. Then the waiter asked whether we were celebrating anything. No, all 3 of us said at once. He retreated. Claire tore a piece of bread into smaller and smaller pieces. I've been seeing Dad on Sundays, she said. I saw the mirror. You've been looking online. Yes. I didn't know if you were. I was. Evan reached for his water. Dad thinks you're turning Sam against him, Claire said. Sam was already angry with Richard. I know, but now it's worse. That relationship belongs to them. He says the same thing about us. Does he? Claire looked down. Evan said, maybe we don't need to talk about Richard tonight. He's part of it, she said. He benefited from it, I said. He didn't make your decision. Her eyes lifted to mine. I know. It was the first time she had said it without defending the next sentence. The waiter returned with our meals. The moment closed beneath plates of pasta. After dinner, Claire hugged me in the parking lot. Her body was stiff at first, then suddenly not. I held her for 3 breaths before she stepped away. Can I call you? She asked. Yes. Without declaring an emergency? Yes. She nodded. The calls resumed, but not the way they had before. Claire was careful, and care made us awkward. She asked whether I had time before telling me about work. I asked whether she wanted advice before giving it. We sounded like strangers using excellent manners. Richard remained a subject we avoided until he called me one Sunday evening. Helen, I need you to speak to Claire. No, you don't even know why. Then tell me and I'll say no with more information. He sighed. We had dinner with friends. She humiliated me. How? She announced that you did not volunteer to miss the wedding. I sat straighter. What did you say before she announced it? That is not relevant. It usually is. I was explaining that divorce doesn't have to destroy a family if people are willing to put their children first. And Claire corrected you. She attacked me in front of people I care about. With the truth? With a private family matter. What did you do? I left. Of course he had. Did she ask you to stay? I wasn't going to remain where I was being disrespected. The old anger rose, but beneath it was something else. Recognition, perhaps. Claire had spent the wedding arranging the world so Richard would not leave. The first time she stopped arranging it, he had. "What do you want me to say to her?" I asked. "That she can't punish me for a decision she made." The sentence was so perfect, I almost admired it. "She isn't punishing you," I said. "She's acknowledging reality. You've been feeding her that language. I haven't discussed you with her since our dinner. She sounds exactly like you. Maybe she sounds like herself. She called me a coward. Was that the humiliating part or the private part? This is pointless. No, it's just uncomfortable." He hung up. I stared at the phone, then placed it on the table without calling Claire. At 10:30 that night, she called me. "Dad talked to you," she said. "Yes. He said you enjoyed what I did." "He didn't say that. You sound pleased." "I'm not pleased you're hurt, but you're pleased I finally see him." I closed my eyes. "Do you?" She was quiet. "He was telling people that you stayed away because you put me first," she said, like it proved something good about him. I told him that wasn't true. "I know. He said I was making a scene. I'm familiar with the term. He left." "I know." Her voice broke. "I almost called you from the restaurant. I waited. But that would have been doing it again, wouldn't it? Asking you to make what he did hurt less." My throat tightened. "What did you do instead?" I asked. I sat there. Evan sat with me. Then I called Dad the next day and told him I wasn't apologizing. "How did that go?" "He hasn't answered me since." "I'm sorry. I am too." She breathed slowly through her nose. "Mom, can I come over tomorrow?" "Yes. I need to tell you something without you helping me say it." "All right. And if I do it wrong, please don't make it better." "I won't." She gave a wet, uncertain laugh. "I believe you." After we hung up, I stood in front of the bookcase. In the wedding photograph, Claire and Evan looked untouched by everything that had happened around them. I adjusted the frame until it sat straight. Then I left it exactly where it was. The next afternoon, I cleaned the kitchen twice and told myself both times that it had nothing to do with Claire. I moved the cake stand from the top of the refrigerator into the cabinet, where it fit after I stacked 2 mixing bowls inside each other. I dusted the wedding photograph. I made coffee, poured it out when it grew cold, and made more. At 4:12, Claire knocked. She had a key. The knock was deliberate. When I opened the door, she stood with both hands empty. No flowers, no tea, no artifact intended to soften the room. "Hi," she said. "Hi. Can I come in?" "Yes." Her eyes found the wedding photograph as soon as she entered. She stopped in front of it, shoulders dropping slightly. "You really put it up. I told you I did. I thought maybe you said that so I'd feel better. I'm trying to stop doing that." She nodded. We went into the dining room. Claire took the chair she had always used, then changed her mind and sat across from it. I sat opposite her. "Do you want coffee?" I asked. "No. Maybe water." I stood. "Mom, please don't take care of me while I do this. I'm getting you water." "I know, but you'll bring ice and then you'll notice I'm cold and get the gray blanket, and somehow I'll end up crying under a blanket while you tell me I'm not a bad person." I remained standing. "You might be thirsty," I said. "I am." "Then water is not emotional interference." I brought her a glass without ice. She took 1 sip and placed both hands around it. "I've rehearsed this," she said, "which means some of it might sound rehearsed." "All right, I'm not going to ask you to tell me it's okay." "All right, and I need to finish." "I understand." She looked at me. "You say that now." I folded my hands in my lap. Claire drew a long breath. I wrote the line on the card because I couldn't say it out loud. I tried. "I called you twice that day and hung up before it rang. Then I told myself writing it was clearer, and clear was kinder." Her thumb moved over the condensation on the glass. "I knew it wasn't kind. That's why I put it at the bottom, where I didn't have to look at it while I was doing all the pretty parts. I wrote 'love you' in the email because I wanted those words to cancel the other ones." I said nothing. She looked down. "Dad didn't give me an ultimatum. You knew that, but I let you think there had been something close to one. He said he didn't know whether he could handle another confrontation. He said maybe he should skip the wedding if his being there was going to upset everyone. He said he might skip it. Yes, that was more direct than Richard had admitted in the hardware store. What did you say? I asked. I told him not to worry. I said you had already mentioned that you might prefer not to attend. My hands tightened together. This was before you asked me. Yes. How long before? The day before I sent the card. I looked toward the window. The plant in the blue pot sat on the sill, its leaves turned toward the light. So you had already given him my absence? I said. Yes. Her voice barely carried. Why? Because he was going to leave me room to ask him to stay. He does that. He says maybe he shouldn't come, then waits for everyone to prove they want him, and you proved it. Yes. With me? She closed her eyes. Yes. The room was silent except for the faint ticking of the clock in the kitchen. I told myself you would understand, she continued, but that isn't the whole truth. I told myself you would be hurt, and I decided hurt was something you knew how to survive. I looked at her. She was crying now, but she did not wipe her face or ask me to move closer. I knew Dad's absence would ruin the wedding for me, she said. I thought yours would only ruin it for you. The honesty of that sentence made me inhale. Claire covered her mouth. I'm sorry. I let the silence remain. You asked me about welcome bags during the same call. I know. You wanted me to dress you before the ceremony. I know. You offered me the last hour of my own daughter's wedding after your father left. That was Evan's idea. Did you agree? Yes. I nodded. She pressed her palms to her eyes, then lowered them. I gave your seat to Dad's friend because the final count was due. I told myself if you changed your mind, we could squeeze in another chair. But I knew you wouldn't come after I asked you not to. You don't force your way into places. No. I counted on that too. Her glass trembled faintly against the table. What happened after? I asked. After what? After you saw me on the phone before the ceremony. Did you want to change it? Yes. Why didn't you? Because everything was moving. People were waiting. Dad was already dressed. He kept asking whether you'd called and whether you might show up angry. I was afraid if I asked you to come, he would know I'd lied to both of you. I sat back. So you protected the lie? Yes. Did Evan know you told Richard it was my idea? No. Not until after the honeymoon. What did he say? That I had used him to make it look like we had agreed on something he didn't understand. That sounds accurate. He said worse things. I don't need to know them. Claire nodded. What did you tell his parents? I asked. That you were emotionally overwhelmed by the wedding and had chosen a quiet weekend for your health. And the venue? That you weren't well? And Darlene? I said you didn't think you could be civil with Dad. And Sam? That you refused to come. Each answer sounded smaller than the last. Who else? A few cousins, the photographer, the coordinator at the hotel. The photographer? She asked if there were any family sensitivities she should know about. I told her not to ask why the mother of the bride wasn't present. That could have been enough. I added that you had chosen not to participate. I looked down at the table. You made my absence into a character flaw, I said. Yes, because otherwise it belonged to you. Yes. She said it without collapsing, which made the answer harder and more valuable. I stood and walked to the kitchen, not to leave, but because my body needed motion. I poured myself water and drank it at the sink. Claire did not follow. When I returned, she remained exactly where I'd left her. Was it a good wedding? I asked. The question startled her. What, were you happy? Her face crumpled. Yes. I nodded. For most of it, she said quickly, I missed you. I kept seeing where you weren't. When Sam said your name, I almost couldn't breathe. You don't have to make it miserable for me. I feel horrible saying I was happy. Don't apologize for joy. Apologize for the price you made someone else pay. She wiped her face with both hands. I am sorry. This time the words did not reach toward me for rescue. I am sorry I excluded you, she said. I am sorry I used Dad's fear to make my decision sound unavoidable. I'm sorry I lied about you because I wanted people to think I was still a good daughter. I'm sorry I treated your love like something I could spend and replace later. My throat tightened. I'm sorry I thought permanent meant you had nowhere else to go. The sentence sat between us. I wanted to hold her. I also wanted to tell her how many times I had woken during those 30 days with my phone in my hand. Both impulses felt like ways of shortening something that needed its full length. I love you, I said. Claire nodded, crying. But the relationship we had is over. Her face went still. I'm not saying we are over. I'm saying I can't go back to being the person you injure because you trust me to survive it. I understand. You may understand right now. It will feel different when I say no to something you want. She nodded again. If we build another relationship, you have to correct what you told people. Not one family announcement that turns into another performance. The people you lied to need to hear the truth from you. All right. You do not use Sam or Evan to carry apologies, arguments, or reports between us. All right. You don't ask me to help manage your father. If he calls, leaves, sulks, or returns, that is not mine to soften. Her mouth trembled. All right. And you have to accept that my life may not arrange itself around you anymore. She looked toward the wedding photograph in the other room. Do you still want me in it? She asked. Yes. How? Honestly, she breathed out, long and unsteady. I don't know how to do that with you. Neither do I. That seemed to frighten her more than anger would have. Do you forgive me? She asked. Not yet. She flinched, but stayed seated. I believe your apology, I said. That is not the same thing. How long will it take? I don't know. What am I supposed to do until then? Keep being sorry after the moment stops feeling dramatic. She gave a small, broken laugh. That sounds terrible. It probably will be. We sat in silence. After a while, Claire asked, Did you miss me during the 30 days? Every day. Her shoulders shook once. Sam wouldn't tell me. I told him he could. He said it wasn't his to give me. He's becoming difficult. He gets it from you. No, your father is difficult. I am exacting. She laughed through her tears. I smiled, and for one dangerous second, the old ease returned. We both felt it. Claire reached for it instinctively, leaning forward as if the conversation might now become familiar and warm. Then she stopped herself. I should go, she said. You don't have to. I think I do. If I stay, I'm going to ask you to make dinner, and then I'll pretend everything is fixed because we ate. That is possible. She stood. At the front door, she looked at me. Can I hug you? Yes. She put her arms around me carefully. I held her just as carefully until care became unbearable, and we both tightened our grip. When we separated, she wiped her face. I'm going to start calling people tomorrow, she said. You don't need to report each one to me, I know. I just wanted you to know I'm doing it. All right? She opened the door, then turned back. Dad still hasn't called. I waited. Her eyes filled again, but she nodded. I know, she said. Not yours to soften. No. She left. The corrections began quietly. Darlene called 2 days later and said, Your daughter told me the truth. She told you her truth. She said you didn't volunteer. That is the truth. I told her I was proud of her. Good. Then I told her the dress code card was vicious. Darlene. What accountability? Sam called that evening. Claire had apologized for lying to him and for accusing him of being turned against her. Evan's mother sent me a brief note saying she was sorry she had accepted an explanation that never made sense. I did not collect the apologies like trophies. Some days they made me feel vindicated. Other days they made the original humiliation fresh. Claire did not ask whether I had heard from anyone. She called once to ask if I wanted coffee, accepted when I said I had plans, and did not make her disappointment my responsibility. The following week, she invited me again. I said yes. We met at the same cafe as before. She arrived early and did not cry. We talked about books, Joanne's yellow kitchen, and the fact that Richard still had not returned her calls. This time, she mentioned him without asking me to explain him. When we left, she said, "What would it take for you to trust me again?" I looked at my daughter standing beside me on an ordinary sidewalk with no wedding, crisis, or audience to arrange us. "Time," I said, "especially when nothing dramatic is happening." She nodded. Then she walked to her car, and I walked to mine, neither of us asking the other to stay. Time did not perform any miracles. It simply kept arriving. Claire called on Tuesdays because Tuesday had no history attached to it. At first, our conversations lasted 12 minutes, then 17. Once we spoke for nearly an hour about a lamp she and Evan had bought that looked elegant online and in person resembled a medical instrument. She asked before discussing Richard. Sometimes I said yes. He finally returned her calls with a message saying he was willing to talk when she could do so without rewriting the wedding to punish him. Claire read the message to Evan, deleted the reply she wrote in anger, and waited 2 days before answering. She told me this over coffee but did not ask what she should say. "What did you decide?" I asked. "I told him I'm willing to talk when he can acknowledge that he let me remove you because it benefited him." "What did he say?" "That you've poisoned me against him." I stirred my coffee. "I told him I hadn't discussed him with you." "And?" "He said that was impossible because I sounded like you." The old impulse to explain Richard rose and fell. "How did that make you feel?" I asked. "Sad." She looked out the cafe window. "But not confused," she added. Richard did not call her again for several weeks. When he did, they met for lunch. Claire told me afterward that he apologized for not being more curious about my absence, then spent 20 minutes explaining why his relief had been reasonable. "Did you accept it?" I asked. "I accepted that it was the apology he had. That's not what I meant. No, I didn't forgive him." We were sitting on my back porch. The railing Evan had repaired needed paint, and Claire had brought 3 color samples without buying the paint itself. "Are you asking me if that's right?" I said. "No." "Good." She smiled. "I'm learning." Richard remained in her life, though differently. He called when he wanted to call. Sometimes she answered, sometimes she did not. He still told stories in which circumstances made his choices for him, but Claire stopped correcting those stories for his sake or mine. When she objected, she did it because she no longer wanted to live inside them. I was proud of her, and careful not to turn that pride into a reward she had to keep earning. The corrections continued. Claire spoke to the hotel coordinator, the photographer, and the relatives who had been told I was ill, unstable, overwhelmed, or voluntarily absent. Some people responded kindly. Others became embarrassed and hurried to assure her that they had always suspected something. Darlene kept a list. "You cannot keep a list of who claims they knew," I told her. "I'm not keeping it. I'm remembering it on paper." "Destroy the paper. I'll consider it." Claire never asked me to praise her for making the calls. I knew when she finished only because she said, "There's nobody left." "How do you feel?" I asked. "Exposed." "That may pass." "Did it for you?" "No." She nodded as if she had expected that answer. Evan's apology changed too. The first one had been full of guilt, which required almost as much attention as defensiveness. The second came while he painted my porch railing on a Saturday morning. He had volunteered. I had accepted only after telling him I would not count household repairs as emotional restitution. "I know," he said. "This is paint." He worked quietly for an hour, then said, "I told Claire something I should tell you. I was repotting herbs at the porch table. The blue pot had given the original plant more room than it knew what to do with. New shoots crowded the base. What did you tell her?" "That I liked the wedding." I looked at him. "I felt terrible about liking it," he said. So I kept talking about how awful everything became afterward. Like if I regretted enough of it, I wouldn't have to admit I was happy that day. You got married. You were supposed to be happy. I know. Claire was happy too. She told you? Yes. He dragged the brush along the railing, leaving a dark streak of wet paint. I think she needed to know you could survive that answer, he said. So did I. He nodded. When he finished, the railing was a deeper gray than the sample card had promised. I liked it anyway. Sam watched the changes with suspicion. He had become used to being angry on my behalf and did not know what to do when I needed less of it. She called Dad, he said one evening while helping me hang a shelf. I know. You're okay with that? It's not mine to approve. She told him she wants him at Thanksgiving. I handed him a level. Did she invite you? She asked if I would come. And I said I'd think about it. Then think about it. He pressed the level against the shelf. You aren't going? I wasn't invited. If you were, I would say no. He looked at me. I don't want to spend Thanksgiving with Richard, I said. That isn't a punishment, it's information. Sam adjusted the shelf. I'll probably go for dessert. All right. You're not going to act wounded? I may feel wounded. I won't make you fix it. That's inconvenient. I've prepared a whole defense. Use it on the shelf. The left side is low. It was not low, but he checked anyway. I held Thanksgiving at my house the Sunday before the actual holiday. Joanne brought mashed potatoes with too much garlic. Darlene brought shrimp, despite being assigned bread. Claire and Evan came early after asking whether early would be helpful. Sam arrived late and blamed traffic, then caught himself and said, I left late. We all stared at him. What? He said. Growth, Darlene announced, raising a shrimp. Claire laughed until she had to sit down. On Thanksgiving Day, she had dinner with Richard. Sam joined them for dessert. I went to Joanne's where we ate leftover potatoes and watched a movie neither of us understood. Claire called the next morning. It was strange, she said. How? Dad kept talking about the wedding like it proved we were all close again. What did you do? I said I didn't want to talk about the wedding. And? He sulked for 20 minutes, then asked for pie. That sounds like your father. I know. She did not ask me to feel sorry for her. I did anyway. As my birthday approached, Joanne insisted on arranging dinner. You arranged the coastal exile, I said. I should choose the restaurant. Strategic dampness was flawless. You stole flatware. 1 jam spoon. You still have it. It is integrated into my home. We settled on a restaurant with a private side room, not because I wanted privacy, but because Joanne knew the owner and claimed she could control the cake. I invited Claire and Evan myself. Claire answered immediately. Yes, you don't know the date. I know your birthday. Dinner is Saturday before. Still, yes. Sam and Darlene will be there, I assumed. And Joanne. Obviously. I waited for her to ask about Richard. She did not. What should I wear? She asked. Clothes. Helpful. It's dinner, not a diplomatic summit. Good bread? I checked. The afternoon of the dinner, I stood in front of my closet wearing a slip and 1 earring. I had planned to wear black pants and a silver blouse, an outfit that required no decisions. The blue garment bag hung at the far end of the rod. I had moved it twice since the wedding, but had not opened it. There was no reason not to wear the dress. That was the argument I made to myself as I unzipped the bag. The fabric slipped through my hands, still soft, still shifting between navy and cobalt in the light. It fit exactly as it had in the store. The folded neckline sat neatly across my collarbone. The sleeves still made my arms look intentional. I put on the heels with the scraped soles. For several minutes, I stood before the mirror, seeing the woman who had bought the outfit and the woman wearing it now. They had the same face. That surprised me. Joanne arrived early, let herself in, and shouted from downstairs, "If you are wearing black pants, I'm leaving." I came down. She stopped in the entryway. "Oh," she said. "Too much?" "No." You paused. I have dramatic instincts. She circled 1 finger and I turned for her. "The zipper is smooth," I said. I'm glad the alterations weren't wasted." I looked at her. "What?" she asked. "Nothing." "You want me to say something profound?" "I absolutely do not." "Good, because my ride is outside." The private room at the restaurant had one long table and a fireplace that worked, unlike the one at the inn. Sam was already there, arguing with Darlene about whether the candles on the cake should reflect my actual age. Evan stood when I entered. Claire did not. She stared at me. Her face changed so openly that I felt the room notice, though no one said anything. She rose slowly. "That was the dress," she said. "It is the dress." Her eyes filled. I set my purse on the empty chair beside her. "Please don't cry before I get wine. I'm trying. You'll ruin your makeup." A laugh broke through her tears. "That is such a mom thing to say. I've heard." She stepped closer but did not touch me. "You look beautiful," she said. "Thank you. I mean it." "I know." She glanced down at the blue fabric, then back at my face. There was apology in her expression, but she did not turn the moment into another confession. She let the dress belong to the evening we were having. Joanne clapped once. "Everyone sit down before Darlene adds 70 candles out of spite." "I brought one for every year," Darlene said. "You brought a fire code violation," Sam told her. Dinner was loud and ordinary. Evan told a story about painting my railing the wrong color. Sam claimed the shelf in my living room had been crooked before he arrived. Darlene ordered shrimp. Joanne produced the stolen jam spoon when dessert came and used it to serve frosting. No one gave a speech. When the cake was cut, Claire passed me the first slice without asking whether I wanted an end piece. She remembered I didn't. Afterward, she helped carry gifts to my car. In the parking lot, the blue dress looked darker beneath the streetlights. "Dad called today," she said. I waited. "He wanted to know if I was seeing you." "What did you say?" "Yes," he said. "That he hopes someday you stop making me choose." I almost laughed. "What did you say?" "That I'm not choosing between you anymore. I'm choosing how each of you is allowed to treat me." She looked toward the restaurant door where Evan was helping Joanne into her coat. He ended the call. "I'm sorry. I am too." She touched my sleeve lightly. "Can I come by Sunday?" she asked. "Not tomorrow. Next Sunday." "I have cards at 2. Morning?" "For coffee." "Coffee is good. No emergency?" "No emergency." I nodded. "Come at 10. She smiled and kissed my cheek. As she walked back toward Evan, I opened my car door, then caught my reflection in the window. Gray hair, blue dress, scraped shoes. My own evening still ahead of me. Claire turned once to wave. I waved back, got into the car, and drove home wearing the dress.